Naruto. Starting as a civilian ninja, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, Twin Stars Graduation. Fire Country, Konohagakure, Cemetery. The breeze blew, the green grass swayed slightly, bringing a touch of warmth to the cold cemetery. In front of the tombstone in the corner, there was a bunch of white lilies, and a little boy with a forehead protector in his hand stood there. Dad, Mom, I'm graduated, and I will have less time to see you in the future. But don't worry, although this world is a bit perverted and may be difficult, I will still try my best to live. The boy has black hair and black eyes, or thin body, and an ordinary figure. He lowered his head slightly and looked at the tombstone, muttering softly. The little boy's name is Muen, who has just turned 10 years old. His parents are both civilian chunin of Konoha, and his mother is a rare medical ninja. But both of them died in a mission when Muen was 6 years old. At that time, Muen had just been studying at the Konoha Ninja School for less than half a year. Muen was born under the red flag in his previous life and grew up in the sun. Although he was an orphan, he lived a comfortable life with the help of kind people and his own efforts. In his spare time, he would watch anime such as Naruto, but he never expected to wake up in this ninja world. In this life, Muen truly experienced the love of his mother and father, which made up for the regrets of his previous life. Although he knew that this was a perverted world where people could go to the battlefield to kill enemies at the age of 5 or 6, when he heard the news of his parents' death, Muen still couldn't accept it and was depressed for a long time. After staying in front of his parents' graves for a while and talking for a while, Muen turned around and walked towards the village. Tomorrow is a new beginning. The core area of the entire Konoha village is like an open folding fan, and Muen's home is at a corner of the folding fan. The wall surrounds a small courtyard, in which there is a cross wooden stake full of holes, and the house is a two-story structure. Pushing open the gate of the courtyard wall, a kune was inserted into the wooden stake with a note on it. Walking over to take it down, and taking a look, it reads "See you at the training ground." The figure of a blonde boy emerged in Muen's mind, and he smiled slightly. Before he could enter the house, he turned and left the yard. When he first entered the Konoha Ninja School, he was surprised to learn that he had a blonde classmate named Namikaze Minato. His first thought was to stay away from this short-lived genius fourth Hokage. There were many troubles in front of the protagonist, so he should just live quietly. Later, after his parents passed away, Muen was very sad and depressed, but this blonde boy would always follow him not far away, and he did not say anything to comfort him, but just accompanied him quietly. "Hey, Minato, why are you following me?" "Nothing, I just thought that you must be in pain now, and it's good to be able to accompany you. Haha." At this time, the embarrassed blonde boy's laughter was particularly warm. From then on, Muen began to let go of his invisible defenses and communicated more with Minato. At the Konoha training ground, a little boy stood under a big tree by a small pond. The little boy had a delicate face and exuded a sunny temperament from the inside out. For some reason, he was in a daze at this time. Suddenly, a shuriken flew straight to the back of the blonde boy's head. At the critical moment, the child lowered his head slightly and dodged it by a hair's breadth. 2 more shurikens flew from the back, but the child was not panicked at all. He had a kune in his right hand and turned it lightly, easily blocking the 2 shurikens. Bang! With a light sound, one of the blocked shurikens emitted a puff of smoke and turned into a black-haired child the same size as the blonde boy. Before the black-haired child landed, he threw out a few more shurikens and rushed towards the blonde boy again under the cover of the shuriken. The 2 boys fought with skills that were not suitable for their age. At first, the black-haired child was able to gain a slight advantage by taking the initiative, but in a flash, he was in danger. With another bang, the black-haired boy turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. It turned out to be a clone. "You are still so difficult to deal with. Your natural nerve reaction speed is really invincible on the battlefield." A little boy walked out of the bushes next to him and said to the blonde child with a helpless look on his face, "You've become stronger too." This time, the shadow clone lasted until the chakra was exhausted. In the past, I killed it directly. Ha ha ha. The blonde child also said as he walked towards the black-haired child. Pa. The two of them clapped their hands crisply. Such friendly exchanges seemed to be commonplace. Then they walked to the small pond and stood still. The two were Muen and Minato. I recently completed a new small ninjutsu, Muen said, pointing his finger at the top of their heads. There was a small eyeball about 10 meters above their heads, and it disappeared with a puff of smoke. This I can see more comprehensively, allowing me to better judge your movements. How about it? This is my new ninjutsu god's perspective. Muen looked proud. You really are. Minato looked helpless. Minato understood that any personal information of a ninja was related to the life of this ninja, so Muen's unreserved confession of ninjutsu was a silent trust in him. However, Minato also vowed in his heart that he would not live up to this trust. What do you want to see me for? I came here immediately after seeing your note. Nothing. I graduated today and will be on a mission tomorrow, so I thought it would be better to meet first. Minato's voice is always gentle. Haha. It's not like you to be so fussy, Minato. Muen smiled gently. Muen, let's work hard together and become excellent ninjas. At this time, Minato's eyes suddenly became sharp and stared at Muen. Muen, who was familiar with Minato, knew that Minato was extremely serious at this time. Don't worry, I'm very afraid of death, and I will work hard to stay alive. But you, don't force yourself at any time. Staying alive is the most important thing. Muen also put away his playful smile at this time, and his eyes seemed to look into the future. This was said to the future 4th Hokage. The two talked for a while, and exchanged some ninja experiences. Just before they were about to leave, Muen suddenly said to Minato, "What were you daydreaming about here before I came? What were you thinking about?" "Ah, I know. You must be thinking about the red-haired girl, right?" Muen looked at Minato with a happy face. "Don't think I don't know. You often secretly look at that girl." Minato's face turned red after being said by Muen, and he stuttered and denied it again and again. "By the way, if you like her, why don't you confess?" "It's fine if you don't confess, but you don't even say a few words to the girl. What are you doing?" "Haha. I said no." "Muen, don't joke with me." Minato and Muen left here in a playful and joking manner. Only the pond and the tree have always been here, and have never changed. Chapter 2, 10 Years of Growth. After returning home, Muen sat at his desk, thinking about the fight with Minato this time, and recording the experience of using the new ninjutsu god's perspective. There were already several similar notebooks on the desk. Well, as expected, I'm no match at all. God's perspective has been fully developed, which means that, based on the principle of the shadow clone technique, it is feasible to control the amount of chakra used and create organ clones, and it is still worth further development. Muen's parents are both Chunin, especially his mother, who is a rare medical ninja and is the backbone of the entire ninja village. For civilian ninjas, parents can be said to have reached a high position in this world that looks at blood. This seems to determine the limit that Muen can reach. Muen did not wait for the system to help like the vast army of time travelers. Fortunately, the hardships of his previous life made Muen understand the truth that, although the road is long, if you walk, you will reach it. Although the matter is difficult, if you do it, you will succeed, and firmly believed that only by moving forward step by step can miracles come. After he began to get in-depth contact with chakra and ninjutsu, Muen soon discovered his unique talent. That is, he has a strong talent in the perception and control of chakra, which also means that Muen has great convenience in the practice of ninjutsu. The practice of ninjutsu is actually the practice of chakra, with 12 kinds of seals, to assist the changes in the nature and form of chakra. Therefore, the more familiar you are with ninjutsu or the more sophisticated your chakra control, the fewer seals you can make, or even no seals or a single seal. Of course, the purpose of the seal is to assist the practice of ninjutsu, so as long as the auxiliary purpose can be achieved, it is possible to make seals with one hand or even with the feet. Of course, to do these, you must have an extraordinary understanding of chakra. Muen was not satisfied with simply learning the practice of ninjutsu, but on this basis, he deeply understood the principles, the effects of each seal on the changes in the nature and form of chakra in the body, and recorded and analyzed them. In this way, Muen quickly learned and proficiently used the ninjutsu in the ninjutsu scroll left by his parents. In addition to the analysis and study of ninjutsu, another gain of Muen in the past few years is that he can easily complete the changes in the nature of chakra of 5 attributes. The chakra of a ninja has a strong personality and commonality. The commonality determines that each ninja's chakra can undergo 5 attribute changes, and the personality determines that the difficulty of each ninja's chakra changes to different attributes is obviously different. Take Muen himself as an example. He inherited his father's fire attribute, and the fire attribute change of chakra is easy to complete. However, it is obviously much more difficult to practice and complete the other 4 attribute changes, especially the water attribute, which is almost impossible. Chakra is a mixture of physical strength and mental strength, so the personality of chakra is also determined by the difference between the mind and the body. To exercise the changes of chakra properties of different attributes, you need to use the chakra that has completed the change of this nature with difficulty to continuously stimulate the body and mind. When the body and mind are completely adapted to the chakra of this attribute, the change of this attribute can be easily mastered. Take Muen's practice of the change of water attribute as an example. At the beginning, it took half an hour to transform a trace of water attribute chakra, and then use this trace of water attribute chakra to stimulate the body and mind. This cycle repeats until now. The water attribute chakra can be changed anytime and anywhere. But for most ninjas, completing the training of 5 attribute changes is useless. Because for underage ninjas, the physical spirit is highly active, and it is easy to complete the training. But in the process of training, it is easy to cause irreversible damage under the stimulation of chakras of different attributes. For adult ninjas, the physical spirit has been finalized, and the activity is reduced. Although it is not easy to get hurt, the training of each additional attribute change takes several years, which is not worth the loss for the improvement of strength. Therefore, to complete the training of 5 different attribute changes, it is necessary to have a certain chakra control ability in the teenage stage. In Muen's impression, Kakashi is such a genius who graduated from the ninja school before the age of 6. In the training of multiple chakra changes, Muen also made a discovery, and it was this discovery that prompted Muen to complete the training of 5 attributes of chakra changes, even the water attribute. This discovery is that as the training process continues, the invisible changes of the physical spirit make the total amount of chakra in Muen's body increase significantly. Before this, with Muen's talent, his total chakra amount was only at the level of a chunin throughout his life. But after completing the changes in the properties of the 5 chakra attributes, Muen's total chakra amount has been able to catch up with the level of those famous disciples of the same age. This also means that after adulthood, Muen's chakra amount will reach the level of an ordinary jonin. These are Muen's own summary and inference under the guidance of his teacher and parents. After completing the record summary of ninjutsu, Muen thought about the current situation of Konoha. At that time, the 2nd generation Hokage Senju Tobirama died in the negotiations with Kumogakuya. Then, the 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen hastily succeeded to the throne, and it is said that he has not established enough prestige until now. After that, there were continuous high-intensity wars. More and more ninjas died, and they were getting younger and younger. The most prominent representative was the genius Uchiha Kagami of the Uchiha family, the genius of the new generation of the Senju family, the grandson of the 1st generation Hokage Senju Hashirama, and Tsunade's younger brother Otree. The most direct consequence is that there is a serious shortage of frontline combatants. The ninja team was in urgent need of fresh blood. This is why Moon and Minato graduated early. Before this, Konoha had strict regulations on the graduation time for students in the ninja school, and there were almost no early graduations. Take Minato for example, his current level is not lower than that of ordinary chunin. If he could graduate early, he should have graduated long ago. Moon, who has the memory of his previous life, knows that this situation cannot be resolved in a short time. After that, there was even a genius ninja named Hokage Kakashi who was known to graduate at the age of 5 and chunin at the age of 6. At this time, Minato did not go home after parting with Moon, but rushed to the school training ground. At this time, the class of Moon and Minato was taking a physical training class on the training ground. The teacher was giving a passionate speech in front of them. As everyone knows, Minato and Moon in our class have graduated early due to their excellent grades. I hope everyone can follow their example, study hard, strive to graduate early, and become a ninja. Among the students listening to the lecture, there was a little girl with fiery red hair. She pouted and muttered softly, "What's the big deal? Wait, I will graduate soon, Minato was standing among the dense branches and leaves in the distance, watching all this from afar. For some reason, Minato always gets excited whenever he sees that red-haired figure. After watching for a while, Minato was reluctant to leave and ran into the dense forest to start a new training. Chapter 3 Konoha Hospital. For ninjas, if they fail to complete their mission, the chance of survival is very small. On the battlefield, those with minor injuries will continue to fight after being simply treated by the frontline medical ninjas, while those with serious injuries can only wait for their companions to complete the mission or die together with their companions if they fail. Therefore, those who can return to the village hospital with serious injuries are rare. But since the start of this year's war, Konoha Hospital has become the busiest place in the entire Konoha village. There are many seriously injured people with broken hands and feet. This also shows from the side the cruelty of this war. Konoha Hospital is a 3-story long building with a big word medical on the top of the middle gate. There is a long corridor in the building, and on both sides are wards and doctors' offices arranged in sequence. At this time, it was already evening, and Muen, who had just finished dinner, came to the hospital as usual. That's right. 2 years ago, after learning the medical ninjutsu left by his mother, Muen went to the hospital to apply for a part-time doctor to earn some money for himself. It is not Muen's code of conduct to live off his family. Because he did learn the palm fairy technique and had mature medical knowledge, he could pass the hospital assessment. In addition, the hospital did have medical ninjas that his mother was familiar with, and age was not a problem. Muen finally made an exception and became a part-time doctor. Muen, you came very early today. It's hard for you again. The nurse on duty in the hall greeted Muen enthusiastically after seeing Muen come in. Sister Xiaoling, you are on night shift today. You have worked hard too. Muen also said easily, is Aunt Hiruna here tonight? Dr. Hiruna is here. She just arrived before you came. Nurse Xiaoling replied. Okay, then I'll go find Aunt Hiruna. As he said that, Muen walked to the second floor, Aunt Hiruna's office. Hiruna and Muen's mother are a pair of good girlfriends. They are both civilian chunin, and they are both geniuses among civilians. Of course, compared with her mother, Hiruna's fate is much better. She married a good husband, and didn't have to go to the front line frequently. When she came to the hospital to work part-time, it was this aunt who helped a lot. Hiruna is an ordinary young female ninja, 30 years old, with a petite figure and a good-looking face. She is not a stunning beauty, but she has a unique charm. At this moment, she was busy doing something in the office. There was a knock on the door, and Muen's voice came from outside the door. Aunt Hiruna, are you there? I'm Muen. Muen, come in. He walked to the desk and prepared to sit down. Aunt, I won't come tomorrow. Muen opened the door and walked in, raised the forehead protector in his hand, and said, I have graduated early and become a genin. What, isn't it 2 years before graduation? Hiruna, who had just sat down, suddenly got up in surprise. How could it be so fast? He frowned, as if he thought of something again. Is there so little manpower on the battlefield? 10-year-old children are not spared, and they can't wait for 2 years. No, I'm going to find Dean Tsunade. You are still too young, and it's too childish to go to the battlefield at this age. If you have any accidents, how can I be worthy of your mother? As he said, he was about to go out directly. Muen quickly pulled her back and said, Aunt Hiruna, no need. The orders from the 3rd generation have already come down. Dean Tsunade should have no other options. However, you still need to tell Dean Tsunade. I won't go. Hiruna sighed deeply and realized that what Muen said made sense. Graduating early was something that could not be changed. Are you really not going to the dean? No, the dean seems to be in a bad mood every time he sees me recently. Maybe he will think of rope tree when he sees me. Okay, I'll tell the dean for you. You too. You must pay attention to safety when you go to the battlefield in the future. I don't care whether it's a mission or not. You must stay alive. Understand? Hiruna said with a serious face. Of course, Muen knew that this was Aunt Hiruna's true thoughts. Although this is a bit of a rebellion for ninjas, it is natural for family members. Don't worry, Aunt Hiruna, I cherish my life very much, and I'm not weak. I have a strong life, and I will live well. With that, Muen raised his hand and went out. Auntie, goodbye. I'm going to stand my last shift. After leaving Auntie Hiruna, Muen went directly to Ward 203. For 2 years, Muen has been in charge of Ward 203. Over the past 2 years, seriously injured patients have come and gone. Some are depressed and unable to recover, while others are positive and optimistic and fight for their lives. However, even if more than 90% of them are discharged from the hospital, they can no longer be ninjas. They can only drag their disabled bodies and struggle to make a living. However, treating and caring for these seriously injured patients is sometimes beneficial. For example, some who like to reminisce about the past will talk about their experiences in doing tasks in their spare time, and Muen has benefited a lot from it. Some who are cheerful and generous may also teach some basic ninjutsu of different attributes. Muen has collected 5 basic ninjutsu of attributes here. At this moment, there are 3 injured people in Ward 203. Naoki Akimichi, a member of the Chen tribe among the 3 tribes of Konoha, Pig, Deer and Chow, is 23 years old, broad and fat, 1.8 meters tall, and weighs more than 200 kilograms. If he hadn't been injured, it shouldn't have been a problem for him to become a jonin. However, now his left arm is broken at the shoulder, and he has dozens of wounds of varying sizes on his body. It's a miracle that he can survive, let alone become a jonin. Hideorito, born in a small family, is 19 years old, handsome, a handsome man who has fascinated thousands of girls, and has a fiancé who has never left him, and taken good care of him during his serious injuries. Now his right foot is missing, and he can only live on crutches in the future. Yasuke, a civilian ninja, has lost both his parents, and is just 17 years old. He has healthy limbs, but his cerebellum was damaged in the battle. Now his mind is intact, but his motor ability is severely damaged, and he can't even walk steadily. He can no longer live independently. When Muen walked into the ward, he put the forehead protector on his forehead. Then he began to examine the 3 people. The 3 people's external injuries have basically healed. After the final spiritual treatment, they should go home and go to the welfare home. Boy, you have graduated, but you are not old enough. Are you in such a hurry? The big man Akimichi Naoki said carelessly after Muen finished the examination, looking at the forehead protector. The 3rd generation approved and graduated early. Muen said, so, I won't have much time to visit you in the future. Is the front line so tense, and the children are not spared? Pay attention to safety. Don't make it like the 3 of us, living a life worse than death. Akimichi Naoki muttered. At this time, Ito Hidego also looked at Muen with a complicated expression and said, be sure to be careful. Yasuke closed his eyes and said nothing. However, Muen still felt his care. This is a person with a fiery heart. It was he who gave Muen a ninjutsu scroll when he knew that Muen was seeking earth-attributed ninjutsu. Perhaps he could better understand the difficulties of civilian ninjas and wanted to help. Don't worry, I'm very tough. Not just any Tom, Dick or Harry can hurt or kill me. I waved my hand. I'll come see you again when I have time in the future. With that, Muen turned and left. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 4 New Teammates. In the director's office of Konoha Hospital, after Tsunade heard Hiruna talk about Moon's early graduation, she stood up and looked out the window. Teacher Sarutobi, why is this happening? Isn't the purpose of establishing the village to protect those children and keep them from war? What is the purpose of Grandpa and others establishing the ninja village now that it has come to this point? Thinking of this, Tsunade said to Hiruna, I understand. Hiruna, leave the matter of Moon to me. I'll go find teacher Sarutobi right away. In the Hokage's office, looking at Tsunade who rushed over in a hurry, the third Hokage Sarutobi rose and smiled and said, Tsunade, is there anything you want to talk to me about? Don't be so anxious. Why don't you go have a meal first? Teacher, be serious. I have something important to do. Tsunade said seriously, what's the matter with Moon? I know the front line lacks combat effectiveness, but we can't let the children fill in. Hearing Tsunade's almost questioning tone, the third Hokage was helpless, but when he thought of the deceased first and second generations, and the boy named Naruto, he could understand Tsunade's feelings. Tsunade, Moon and Minato are both stronger than the average genin. You should know that with Moon's skilled medical ninjutsu, it is not surprising for him to graduate. Can the average graduated genin compare to him? After taking a puff of his cigarette, the Sandaime continued, their chances of survival on the battlefield are much greater than those of average genin. Now is a critical period of the war, and it won't be wrong to let stronger people go to the front. Besides, I have just taken over as Hokage, and my prestige among the major families is not high yet. There is nothing I can do about it if I can't send more people. I also know that the appointment letter that has been issued cannot be changed, but, Mr. Sarutobi, I just want to ask, has Moon's team leader been arranged? Tsunade asked. Minato will be led by Jiraiya for a while. Muen is having a headache. Sarutobi rubbed his forehead and said, Tsunade, you care so much, do you want to lead him yourself? I'm a medical ninja, and the team must be equipped with combat personnel. Wouldn't it be a waste of resources for me to lead him? I have someone to recommend. Oh, tell me, who do you want to recommend? The third generation looked puzzled. Muen, who returned home, was not aware of what was happening in the Hokage's office, but was undergoing chakra training, including a series of processes such as chakra extraction, control, and perception. The extracted chakra was arranged into various characters on Muen's fingertips, and then transformed into various attributes in turn, or transformed into multiple attributes at the same time, until he was exhausted, and Muen went to bed with a satisfied look. In the early morning, before the sun rose, Muen ran to the Konoha mission hall in the morning mist. The grouping of the genin who just graduated this year will be carried out there, and then the assignment of tasks will begin directly. Looking from top to bottom, the core area of the entire Konoha village is an open folding fan. The fan tail is facing the Hokage rock, and the mission hall is located at the fan spike. The upper floor of the hall is the power center of the entire Konoha, where the Hokage is located. When Muen came to the hall, he didn't see too many people. After asking the Chunin who was responsible for distributing tasks, he learned that many newly graduated genin had been called away from home by the leading ninja to perform tasks without waiting for the unified grouping time. Muen, hello. After waiting for a while, Muen heard a gentle voice from behind. Turning around, he saw a sunny and handsome guy with a smile on his face and light blue hair, calling him. Of course, Muen knew this person. When he was working in the hospital, he saw this person come to see Dean Tsunade. Mr. Duan, are you looking for me? Muen looked puzzled. Yes, this is Tsunade's lover, Kato-dan. Hello, Muen, I'm your instructor, Kato-dan. Kato-dan still had a smile on his face. Come with me, the other two team members are waiting for us at the entrance of the village. Okay, teacher. Muen had a dazed look on his face. He didn't expect that his instructor would be this famous short-lived jonin, Kato-dan, who made Tsunade suffer from hemophobia. Muen followed Kato-dan and ran towards the entrance of the village. He wondered in his heart whether Kato-dan had ever led a genin in the original history of Naruto. Only with vague memories, it is certain that there were no young ninjas around Kato-dan when he died. But after a while, the two had arrived at the entrance of the village, and there were two people waiting there. A man and a woman. The man was followed by a white puppy, and the woman's face was covered with oil paint, so her face could not be seen clearly. Okay, everyone will be teammates for a while from now on, and you all introduce yourselves. Kato-dan stopped, and said to the three people. My name is Kurama Huan. I'm 12 years old this year. I like a lot of things, but I don't particularly dislike anything. My dream is to never get sick again. I'm good at illusions, but not at physical skills. Please give me more advice in the future. The little girl said with a smile that couldn't be covered by the paint on her face. Inozuka Shida, 12 years old. I don't particularly like anything, and I don't particularly dislike anything. I'm good at physical skills. The little boy said coolly. By the way, my dream is to become a Hokage in the future. After the two introduced themselves, they both looked at Muen. Muen also smiled and said, Muen, 10 years old, my dream is to complete every mission safely and to be a medical ninja who is good at treating external injuries. After hearing Muen say that he was a medical ninja, the two looked more serious. They all understood that it was a lucky thing to have medical ninja in a team, and it could save lives at a critical moment. Seeing that the three children had finished their introductions, Kato-dan also said, I'm Kato-dan, a Jonin, good at perception ninjutsu, and I know a little bit of taijutsu. From now on, we will be a task force. Come on, little ones. His voice was as gentle as ever. Okay, next, let's start the first task, exterminating traitors. Dan began to be serious. Follow me, let's go. As soon as the voice fell, the three followed Dan and ran. As for the little white dog next to Inozuka Shida, it lay on Shida's head very consciously. Huan, Shida, although I'm not a fresh graduate, I have at least seen the senior students in the school. Why haven't I seen you too? Muen asked with a curious look on his face. I haven't been to school because of my poor health, Muen-jin. Kurama Huan said softly. I'm a ninja trained by my family, so I don't need to go to any ninja school. Shida said with a little puppy lying on his head. Okay, don't ask too many questions and stay focused. During the war, even in the land of fire, there is a possibility that enemy ninjas may appear. We cannot relax at all. Amid Duan's serious voice, the figures of the four people ran away among the woods. Chapter 5, Spiritualization. The source of Konoha village ninjas is not only the ninja school. On the contrary, the ninja school is a new thing that has only appeared recently. Before the establishment of the ninja village, the inheritance of ninjas was carried out within the family, which is the so-called family training. After the establishment of the ninja village, as the direct power of the shadow, the Enbu needs to have power independent of each family, and the ninjas trained by the Enbu came into being. After the second generation established the ninja school training system, the family training of ninjas and the Enbu training of ninjas did not stop, but together with the school, they provided talents for the Konoha village. Of course, it took a long time for Muen to understand these things clearly. Muen, Hui-yun, and Shishan followed Duan, and ran all the way. The mountains and rivers could not stop their steps. From the dawn to the scorching sun, they followed silently without saying a word. Kato Duan, who was running in front, raised his right hand and made a stop gesture. Muen and the other two stopped synchronously following Kato Duan, and at the same time, they were alert to all directions. We're almost there, Kato Duan said. Prepare the ration pills, restore chakra, and get ready for battle. The three genin group obeyed the order without hesitation, ate the ration pills, adjusted their breathing, restored their physical strength, and extracted chakra to prepare for battle. Teacher, can you tell us what the mission of this trip is? Kurama Huan whispered. Seeing Dan's gaze, Kurama Huan panicked and said hurriedly, Teacher, I don't want to pry into secrets, I just think that, if we know the specific mission, the three of us can be better prepared mentally. Don't be nervous, it's not a secret, I was going to tell you anyway. Kato-dan said, the battlefield is now mainly in the direction of the Rain Country, to the west of our Konoha village, and we are heading southeast today, which seems to be far away from the battlefield. Yes, Teacher Dan, I've been wanting to ask you just now, I'm almost dying of suffocation. Inozuka Shida looked anxious, and the teacher seemed to have said something about exterminating traitors. Isn't exterminating traitors generally the work of the Anbu? In a war, the outcome, besides the ninjas themselves, the most important force is logistics, such as ninja tools, food pills and so on. Yesterday, the daimyo allocated a batch of logistical supplies to the village, but early this morning, the supplies were robbed while being transported to the village. All the ninjas who transported them were missing, and we only received a message that was suspected to be sent back to the village by a dying ninja. It is suspected that it was done by a traitor, as the Enbu has been short of manpower recently. This morning, when I went to accept the mission, the third Hokage handed this task to my team. How do we find this traitor in such a big place? Inozuka should have looked anxious. The scrolls for transporting supplies should be marked in the village, Nguyen thought. After all, for such an important matter, the village cannot have no plan. Yes, the scrolls have been processed by the Aburaim clan. Duan opened his palm and saw a group of small insects forming an arrow pointing the direction in his palm. He said, "This group of insects can guide us. When they are close enough, the insects will fly directly to the scrolls." From the beginning, the small insects have become more and more agitated, and they should be not far from the scrolls. In a forest in the southeast of the Land of Fire, a group of 9 ninjas were running fast. One of them was wearing a green Konoha ninja uniform, a Konoha forehead protector, and 2 huge scrolls on his back. The other 8 had masks on their faces, and it was unclear which ninja they were. Suddenly, a group of small insects fell on the scroll behind the ninja in the green uniform. The ninja who noticed this situation changed his face and shouted, "Be careful, this is a bug from the Aburaim clan." I knew it was not that simple, so it was the Aburaim clan's trick. At the moment, when the Konoha rebel ninja shouted, the ninja closest to him suddenly pierced his body from behind with a kunai. Why? The Konoha rebel ninja was full of disbelief, looking back at the companion who suddenly killed him, spitting blood and speaking vaguely. The betrayer must die. Under the monkey mask, the cold storage's ruthless voice came. Spirit transformation technique, Katodan. The rebel ninja seemed to understand something in an instant. His eyes dimmed, and it seemed that he would not survive. The monkey-faced ninja did not hesitate at all, and immediately turned his attack to other ninjas, but was instantly overwhelmed and killed by the ninjutsu. But in the blink of an eye, another ninja was killed by his companion. It turned out that Dan changed the object of possession in an instant. Separate, find his body, and kill him. A voice came from under a fox mask, and 4 figures instantly separated, and went away in 4 directions. There were only 2 ninjas left, one of whom was the fox-faced ninja who gave the order. At this time, another ninja was seen shaking all over, bleeding from all 7 orifices, and falling to the ground. At this time, a soul light rose from the fallen ninja, and it was Katodan. So this is the spiritual transformation technique of the top daimyo. Not only can it directly possess and kill people, but also can attack the spirit. Or should it be the soul of the possessed person? The fox-faced ninja looked at Katodan's spiritual body and said. Katodan did not respond and flew directly to the fox-faced ninja. The fox-faced ninja did not make a seal, but saw a rapidly rotating wind gathered in his hand, like a sword, slashing at Katodan, but the wind blade pierced through like a phantom. Is the ninjutsu attack ineffective? The fox-faced ninja looked at Katodan who was rushing towards him, and did not dodge too much, but said calmly, "Moreover, it seems that physical skills are also ineffective. I just don't know what will happen to illusions. It's a pity that I'm not very good at illusions, otherwise I really want to try it again." At this moment, Katodan flew in front of the fox-faced ninja, used his hand as a knife, and cut off the fox-faced ninja's neck. A big head rolled to the ground. Katodan frowned slightly, because he did not feel that he cut flesh. The next situation confirmed his judgment. The head under the mask spoke, "It's really a cheating ninjutsu. It actually has the ability to attack entities. Puppetry? Don't you dare to come out and see." Katodan spoke for the first time. "If you see it, you will disappear. Let's see whether you kill us all, or we find your body first." Haha. Voices came from all directions. Seeing this, Katodan quickly chased after one of the ninjas who had just scattered. He knew that he didn't have much time, and had to deal with at least 2 more. Otherwise, if they really wait until they find their bodies, given the experience gap among the 3 lower ninjas, anything unexpected could happen in a head-on battle. Chapter 6 The battle begins. Time goes back to half an hour ago. After a good rest, Nguyen and his 4 companions set out again. As the distance to the enemy is getting closer and closer, they are more cautious in their actions. When the swarm of insects became more violent and could no longer maintain the shape of an arrow, Katodan called the trio to his side and said, "The enemy is not far from us. wait a minute. I will perform the spirit transformation technique, and you stay by my side. Don't worry, teacher Duan. I will never let your body have any problems even if I die. Inozuka Shida promised loudly. Yes, yes, teacher, me too. Kurama Huan also nodded and promised. Okay, the teacher believes in you, but you must remember that the teacher does not want you to die. Your own lives are the most important, understand? After all, you are the future of the village. Duan handed a flare to Muen, and then said, when you encounter danger, send out a flare, and my spirit will come back immediately. After the instructions, Duan sat cross-legged on the ground, and began to quickly form a seal. Accompanied by a white light, another Katodan floated out of his head, flew directly into the sky, and disappeared. Duan, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, seemed to have lost his strength, and collapsed to the ground. Even his breathing seemed to be vague. Just in case, I think we should make some arrangements in advance. At this time, Muen suggested. We should indeed make some arrangements. Shida quickly took over the topic, greeted the two, and said loudly, wait a minute, if there are enemies coming, you two will listen to my command. Woof woof. The little puppy on Shida's head also echoed. Shida-kun, this arrangement is too. Huan's face was flushed, and she was so anxious that she couldn't speak. This arrangement is equivalent to no arrangement. Muen seemed to be able to see his face full of black lines. Just listen to me. It seems that Shida, you don't have the talent in this area. As he said, Muen didn't care about Shida's dissatisfaction, pulled the two to his side, and began to make some arrangements. As a senior Anbu ninja of Send Village, Shajiro, who had just been promoted to Jonin, received this mission and originally thought that this mission should be easily completed. After all, 8 Anbu were dispatched, and there were also internal agents to cooperate, so there shouldn't be any danger. In the early stage, as expected, the ninjas who were escorting supplies from Konoha were dealt with very smoothly. But on the way back, they encountered such a tricky person. Ninjutsu is like a ghost, and you can't understand it yourself. But according to the captain, that shouldn't be his real body. As long as you find his real body in advance, you can directly kill this master. Even in Konoha, such masters should be rare. They should feel bad if they kill one. Suddenly, Shajiro stopped, stretched out his right hand, and seemed to catch a breeze, sniffed it at the tip of his nose, and said to himself, the wind told me that there is a smell that does not belong to nature ahead. I found you, the scum of Konoha, your heads belong to me. Muen and the other two surrounded Katodan's body in the middle in a triangle. Inozuka Shida and the puppy on his head kept sniffing their noses from time to time, obviously looking for the smell of strangers in case of sudden approach by the enemy. Kurama Huan's forehead was slightly sweaty, and he opened his eyes wide and stared nervously ahead. Muen was also a little nervous. After all, it might be the first time to fight with a hostile ninja. At this time, Muen had already performed his own ninjutsu god's perspective. He saw an eyeball suspended 10 meters in the air, and Muen could see every detail within a radius of 40 meters. The characteristic of the ninjutsu god's perspective is that the more chakra you inject into the eye on the top of your head, the higher you can rise, and the clearer and wider you can see. But at this time, the woods are dense, and if the eyeball rises too high, it will not only waste chakra, but also not see so clearly. In addition to the ninjutsu god's perspective, Muen focused most of his energy on perception, which is Muen's talent. When concentrating, he can feel the chakra from a long distance, and this distance can now reach about 300 meters. Suddenly, Muen frowned. At the edge of the limit of perception, a ninja rushed here. Obviously, this was not a wrong way, but they really found them. Be alert. Someone is coming. Muen immediately reminded his teammates. Woof woof woof. The little puppy on Shida's head also discovered the enemy and gave a reminder. Great, Muen. You discovered the enemy before the prince. Are you really a medical ninja? Shida said excitedly. Don't sigh, the enemy is coming. Prepare for battle as we agreed before. As he spoke, the enemy had already rushed up. It turned out to be just 3 little brats. It seems that we are lucky, Shajiro said excitedly while throwing shuriken. The battle between ninjas has never been just a head-on confrontation, but in cautious contact, analyzing the opponent's intelligence, protecting their own intelligence, and analyzing the opponent's weaknesses, striving to kill with one blow. But the current situation is not favorable for the trio. Because the three need to protect Katodan's body, they cannot retreat, and can only confront the enemy head-on. Inosuke Shida rushed to the front, while Muen and Huiyun assisted on the side. They did not fight directly, but made full use of their flexibility, cooperated with each other, and focused on harassment. They were determined to retreat after one attack, and retreat again after another attack. This also made Shajalang very annoyed, and he began to focus his main energy on the most active Inosuke Shida, preparing to start to deal with them one by one. Even if Inosuke Shida was careful, when the enemy began to shift their attention to him, due to the difference in strength, danger began to appear. It was at this time that the opportunity came. At this time, Shajalang's mental gaze was focused on Shida. Inosuke Shida and Kurama Huiyun crossed each other, and naturally shifted Shajalang's gaze to Kurama Huiyun's eyes. When their eyes met, Huiyun launched the illusion that he had prepared for a long time. Tree binding kill. Kurama Huiyun's cold voice came out. Hurry, Shida, my illusion can't control him for long. Got it, it will be over soon. Shida was seen lying on the ground with his hands crossed, and the little puppy prince was lying on Shida's back, grinning. Beast mimicry ninjutsu, teeth to teeth. Shida and Prince seemed to have turned into two interlaced drills, drilling into Sajiro's body, knocking him away, and only stopped after crashing into two large trees. Did it work? Huiyun was incredulous at first, and then excited, with a red face. Before he finished speaking, there was a bang, and Shida and Prince were knocked back and fainted. Chapter 7 First Blood. Although Muen has no actual combat experience with hostile ninjas, he still has his own understanding of the battles between ninjas, combining the ninja battle scenes in the animation of his previous life and the experiences of some injured ninjas in the hospital. In Muen's view, the battles between ninjas are nothing more than three situations. The first is to formulate tactics, based on one's own intelligence. When the enemy's situation is unclear and one's own disadvantage is obvious, use one's own advantages, to induce the enemy to reveal flaws, and then kill with one blow. The second is that when the difference in strength between the two sides is not large and the battle cannot be ended in a short time, it is necessary to better hide one's own trump card intelligence through continuous contact and probing in the battle, analyze the characteristics and weaknesses of the enemy's ninjutsu, and then kill. The copy ninja Kakashi is well aware of this, and likes to use clones to obtain enemy intelligence. The third is to rely on invincible ninjutsu abilities or huge chakra differences when one has an overwhelming advantage, to carry out overwhelming combat kills. For example, Katodan who used the spiritualization technique, the future 4th Hokage who used the flying thunder god, and the first Hokage Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Madara, etc. Ninjas should choose appropriate tactics according to the situation on the scene. In Muen's cognition, the one who chose the best fighting method was Uchiha Itachi, who was an absolute fighting genius. At any time, he could choose the right fighting method and win the battle at the lowest cost. The one who became a negative example was Uchiha Sasuke. Before opening the Mangekyou Sharingan, he was full of fighting wisdom. The battle with Deidara and the revenge battle with Itachi were both considered the art of fighting, but after opening the Mangekyou Sharingan, he began to overly superstitious about the power of the eyes, and began to choose the third fighting method without thinking, which led to the consecutive defeats of capturing the 8 tails, and rushing into the 5 cage talks, and it gave people a feeling that the Mangekyou became weaker after opening the eyes. Just now, the tactics of Muen and the other two were the first. Obviously, the tactics have been successful, but the results are not obvious, and the enemy has not lost its combat effectiveness. Muen saw clearly with his 3 eyes that the enemy in front of him woke up from the illusion the moment he was hit and released 2 ninjutsu. The first ninjutsu was to blow a gust of wind from his palm forward, using the reaction force to reduce the impact of Shida's ninjutsu. The second ninjutsu was to make a layer of wind armor appear around his body, to block the subsequent impact of Yatongya. Just from the timing and speed of the release of the 2 ninjutsu, Muen felt a strong pressure. This person is definitely not an ordinary person. Looking to one side, Kurama Huiyun, who was sweating, and his body was already shaky, remembered the rumors about the Kurama clan in the village. The better the talent, the worse the body. It seems that the previous battle has exhausted Kurama Huan's physical strength. Nguyen said calmly, Huan, keep an eye on Shida and the teacher, leave this to me. Shajilang was angry at the moment. He thought that it was just 3 little ghosts that were easy to deal with, but he didn't expect that he would be injured in the blink of an eye. If it weren't for his rich experience, he would probably have become a corpse at this moment. Little ghost, if you want to die, I'll grant your wish first. Seeing the seemingly youngest boy standing in front of him, as if he was going to defeat him, Shajilang became even more angry. However, none of those who can be promoted to Jonin are fools. The angrier Shajilang was, the calmer his heart became. His eyes glanced at the little girl vaguely, thinking, that should be Kato Dan. The little ghost can be killed at any time. The first priority now should be to kill Kato Dan. Looking at the enemy who opened the way with shuriken and rushed over with anger on his face to compete with him in physical skills, Nguyen was not so nervous. In terms of physical skills, although he dared not say that he won, it was still possible to delay the enemy and delay as much time as possible for Teacher Dan. Most ninjas have limited chakra, and even the simplest ninjutsu consumes more chakra than physical skills. Therefore, in a fierce battlefield, ninjas generally stick to using physical skills to solve the battle in order to save chakra. The physical skills level of a ninja depends on physical strength, reaction speed, agility, etc. As an adult ninja, it is likely that he is stronger than an underage ninja in physical strength and strength. Therefore, it is understandable that Shajiro chose to fight Nguyen with physical skills. Nguyen certainly understands the importance of physical skills. Although he can't be as perverted as Might and his son, and Lee, he also deliberately strengthened his physical skills training during school. In order to improve his physical skills, he even challenged Namikaze Minato, whose reaction speed is unmatched, for a long time. Although Minato is still a genin now, and although he has never won, he is still full of confidence. This is indeed the case. After the physical skills battle began, Shajiro did have an advantage in strength, but Nguyen did not fight hard with him during the twists and turns, and he could fight back and forth, even more calmly than when he was 3-1 just now. After all, the 3 of them just became teammates this morning, and they were not familiar with each other before, and they still lacked running in between the two. Seeing that he could not easily take down Nguyen for a while, Shajilang became more and more impatient. He found a gap, quickly formed a seal, opened his mouth and spit out a breath of wind, which quickly formed a tornado pattern, and rolled towards Nguyen. This ninjutsu is not very lethal, but the attack range is large, and it is not easy for the person who is hit by the technique to escape. Sure enough, Nguyen was caught in the tornado, and seemed unable to get rid of it for a while. Nguyen couldn't help but get anxious, as if he understood the enemy's calculations, and shouted, "Coward, you coward, if you have the guts, kill me first, don't run. It's really stupid to entangle with you. As long as we kill this ninja who knows strange ninjutsu, we will win." Shajilang, who finally freed his hands, naturally would not waste this opportunity. He came to Kurama Huan with a flash body technique, and knocked Huan, who was protecting Kato Dan, away with a whip kick. Holding a kunai, Shajiro came to Kato Dan, and he couldn't help but feel happy. He hit the vital point and shouted, "I succeeded." At this moment, there was a light bang sound, and a puff of white smoke came out of Kato Dan's body. In the smoke, appeared the shadow of Nguyen trapped in the tornado. Shajiro didn't know that he had been tricked. He was about to retreat temporarily, but found that a small quagmire had appeared under his feet and he couldn't get rid of it. Looking at the hand that was emitting red light and inserted into his chest, Shajiro quickly formed a seal under the instinctive reaction that had been trained countless times in life and death moments, and a layer of whirlwind armor appeared around him. In the contest of ninjutsu and ninjutsu, the red palm easily passed over the whirlwind armor. The palm seemed to be a little redder, and it was printed on Shajiro's chest. Then a fierce flame erupted from the palm and exploded in the heart. Shajiro vomited blood, his eyes were dull, and it seemed that he was not going to survive. Chapter 8 Reinforcement arrive. It is common sense in the ninja world that chakra attributes restrain each other. Fire restrains wind, wind restrains thunder, thunder restrains earth, earth restrains water, and water restrains fire, forming a cycle. This is what ninjas must remember when practicing ninjutsu and fighting. Once you encounter a ninja who specifically restrains you, you either ask your teammates for help or hide as far away as possible. This is also why ninjas generally act in teams and do not perform tasks alone. And all ninjas who can perform tasks alone are big figures in famous towns. Fire restrains wind. How can your wind block my fire? After Muen finished speaking to Shajiro, he turned into smoke with a bang and disappeared. It was the two ninjutsu small swamp technique and flame palm that had exhausted the chakra of the shadow clone. According to the characteristics, that the body's chakra reaction is weak after performing the spiritual transformation technique, which is convenient for shadow hiding. When the tactics were initially formulated, the three had already hidden Katodan's body and let Muen perform the transformation technique with the shadow clone instead. At this time, after the tornado technique that trapped Muen disappeared, there was no time to summarize the gains and losses of this battle. Muen immediately gathered the other two people and the dog together and fulfilled his duty as a medical ninja, checking and treating his companions. After a careful examination, it was found that the injuries of the companions were not broken, but they were not light. If there was no treatment ninjutsu, it was possible to lie down for 2 or 3 days. After a simple treatment of the injuries of the companions, Muen's face changed, and his brows frowned slightly. It turned out that there were ninjas at the edge of his chakra sensing. Looking at everyone's physical condition, Muen did not think too much, and decisively launched the flare that Teacher Duan gave him. Sure enough, as the flare exploded in the air, the ninja who entered Muen's sensing range did not wait for Kato Duan to return, and decisively left Muen's sensing range. At the same time, Kato Duan, who had once again solved an opponent, heard the sound of the flare exploding in the sky, and without thinking, he immediately flew to where his body was. Less than 2 breaths after sending out the flare, Kato Duan's soul light rolled up 2 scrolls and returned to his body. There was almost no difference from before leaving. Only by looking closely could one find that the light of the soul seemed to be dimmer than before. Looking at Inuzuka Shida and Kurama Kian who were unconscious, Katodan felt guilty, thinking that he had not fulfilled his responsibility as a team leader and had not protected everyone. Muen, you should have fired a flare as soon as you discovered the enemy. You should not be so reckless in the future, understand? Katodan said, tell me the details. Then, Muen told Dan how the three of them arranged tactics, how to discover the enemy, how to engage in battle, and finally how to kill the invading enemy without hiding anything. After understanding what happened, Kato Duan looked at Muen with an incredible look and said, you mean, you are born with the ability to perceive chakra and can sense things 300 meters away? No, Teacher Duan. I also discovered this talent by chance after I learned how to extract chakra. At first, I could only sense chakra within a range of about 50 meters. Later, I slowly practiced, and my sensing range gradually expanded. Until now, when I concentrate, the chakra within a radius of 300 meters can't be hidden from my perception. After hearing Muen's answer, Duan's eyes glowed, and he thought to himself, chakra sensing talent? And you've learned medical ninjutsu. It seems that you also have a good talent for chakra manipulation. What a good talent. You're very good. It seems that it's not unreasonable for you to graduate early. Kato Duan affirmed. From the early tactical arrangements to the execution of tactics, you have a lot of ideas. But it was still a bit reckless. Fortunately, nothing serious happened to the two of them this time. What if the enemy was stronger? What if there were casualties? Kato Duan's voice was a little more serious. I understand. I won't do it again, teacher. Muen was also quite scared. If there were any casualties, he might not forgive himself. Okay, remember to learn from the lesson. You treat them first, and leave the vigilance to me. When the injuries of Inuzuka Shida and Kurama Huan gradually healed under Muen's meticulous treatment, Katodan, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, sensing the surroundings and keeping vigilance, suddenly frowned, as if he was nervous. Then he exhaled lightly, stood up, and his face was much more relaxed. At this time, there were only a few light sounds, and 5 ninjas wearing Konoha's standard combat uniforms stood in front of Dan. 4 of them were wearing masks, obviously Konoha Anbu ninjas. The other one had white hair, was in good spirits, and was in his prime. Judging from the positions of the 5 people, the 4 Anbu ninjas were faintly centered on the white-haired ninja. Hearing the movement, Muen immediately stood up, and was on guard. Duan, you are a bit reckless. You brought 3 little brats to hunt down the rebel ninja. The white-haired ninja said, you don't care, but those 3 guys are so young. If something goes wrong, how will you explain it? Haha. I regret it too. After all, I have no experience in leading newcomers. Duan laughed and continued, Tsukumo, why are you the one leading the team? Isn't your son just born? Why don't you stay with him for a few more days? Hearing this, Muen also relaxed, squatted down and continued to treat his companions. Thinking in his heart, this turned out to be the famous Konoha White Fang, and it seems that the genius Hatake Kakashi has also been born. The battle on the front line is so urgent, how can we have time to rest? Hatake Tsukumo said helplessly, besides, I heard that you took the mission of exterminating traitors with 3 newcomers early in the morning, and I was a little worried. I immediately brought a team of Anbu to pick you up. Hatake Tsukumo glanced at the 2 people who were still unconscious, and then looked at Muen, and smiled. It seems that nothing serious has happened. It is a blessing in disguise. How is it? Have the supplies been taken back? The scroll has been taken back, but 2 enemies have escaped. Oh, don't worry about it. If there were only 2 people, they would have been killed by us just now. They have penetrated deep into the border of our far country. If they are allowed to go back alive, it will seem that there is no one in our far country. Hatake Tsukumo said lightly. Since the supplies have been taken back, then our 2 groups will escort the supplies to the battlefield together. Hatake Tsukumo continued, take a rest first, and set off again after the 2 little ghosts wake up. After speaking, the 4 Anbu immediately left and dispersed to be on guard. Chapter 9 Shadow Level Strength. Looking at Muen who was treating Shida and Huan seriously, Tsukumo and Duan walked away calmly. Tsukumo, it seems that the war with the Rain Country must be ended as soon as possible. Duan said solemnly, judging from the ninjutsu of this group of people, it should be the Sand Village without a doubt. Well, it should be correct. I have a ninja who practices puppetry. They should want to rush to the southeast from here and take the sea route to the Wind Country. If they really succeed in escaping, it is really possible to confuse the public. Tsukumo replied. The Wind Country and the Rain Country should have reached a tacit understanding, or even directly formed an alliance. The intelligence from the front line has confirmed that the Sand Village and the Rain Village fighting on the battlefield of the Rain Country have lost contact. Tsukumo told Duan the information he had learned. HMPH. Duan snorted coldly and then said, they have been fighting for so long, and the blood feud has been formed. How can it be settled with a simple treaty? I think both countries have their own ulterior motives and calculations. That's what the adults judged. Before leaving, the 3rd generation said that after we escort the supplies, we should find an opportunity to break away from the contact with Yuan, wait for orders, and be ready to sneak into the Kingdom of Wind at any time. Tsukumo directly told the 2 people's next mission. It seems that the time for the decisive battle is coming soon. However, I'm fine myself. What about the 3 of them? Duan pointed at Muen and the other 2, and continued, the infiltration mission is too dangerous. They are still young and inexperienced. What's the difference between infiltration and suicide? Don't worry, they are not on the mission list. We have new partners. Tsukumo said with a smile. When the sun set, and the sky began to darken, the group began to set off again. However, compared with before, the team's strength has been epically strengthened. Not only has Konoha White Fang joined, but there are also 4 members of the Anbu cruising around, which is really full of security. Asshole Moon, you are the youngest, why are you so strong? Inozuka Shida yelled, after the mission is over, you must have a good fight with me. When Shida woke up, he heard about Moon's record after he fainted, and he immediately became upset. He said bluntly that Moon was a fake medical ninja, and then he was unconvinced. I will be the man who will be the Hokage in the future. I will not lose to you, Moon. Listen, when I get to the battlefield, I will also kill a Jonin. Listen carefully, it is a Jonin. Well, I know. Come on. Asshole, be serious. What is your attitude? Do you look down on me? Huh? Looking at Moon's expression, that deserves a beating. Shida instantly became irritable. Moon naturally did not mean to look down on Shida. As an adult soul, he will neither laugh at nor admire the aspiring teenagers with dreams. After all, who hasn't had a beautiful dream? Moon looked at Tsukumo, who was running in front. When we first met, I was still confused. How could Konoha Whitefang, who was famous for his swordsmanship in the ninja world, not have a sword? At this time, the doubts were solved. I saw a short sword on his back, and there was no trace of it from the front. It was really hard to imagine that such an unremarkable uncle was the Konoha Whitefang who killed the whole ninja world. When Muen was on his way at night, Minato also came to the battlefield under the leadership of his team leader Jiraiya. At this time, Jiraiya was only a disciple of the third generation of Hokage, and had not yet made a name for himself as the Three Ninjas. Minato and others who had just arrived at the battlefield did not seem to have good luck, and were ambushed by the enemy. Facing an enemy that was twice as powerful as his own, Minato responded calmly. Without dazzling ninjutsu, he only relied on his skilled instant body technique to shuttle around the battlefield like an elf, solving the enemy, and also showed his talent in front of Jiraiya for the first time. After dealing with the enemy, Jiraiya looked at his new disciple, who was indeed extremely talented. He also understood why the third generation was so serious about letting him take good care of him. The premise of using the instant body technique well is to have an extremely fast reaction speed. It is a very simple truth. When you appear next to the enemy with an instant body, even if you are the one who is prepared in advance, if your reaction speed is not as fast as the enemy, then the enemy's attack may fall on you one step faster, and the instant body technique will become a death warrant. Therefore, the instant body technique of ordinary people is used to dodge. Those who can use the instant body technique for attack must have an extremely fast reaction speed. And looking at Minato's performance on the battlefield and the frequency of using the instant body technique, his reaction speed is definitely a terrifying performance. Minato, has anyone told you that your reaction speed is terrifying? Classmate Muen often says so. Minato touched his head and said unconsciously. So, after a fight of this magnitude just now, can you still handle your conscious reaction? It was still very easy. Minato said seriously. Munen often said that speed is power. It would be better if it could be faster. I also tried to practice the instant body technique faster, but now it is already the limit. Teacher, do you have any ideas? Faster? Jiraiya muttered to himself. Young people nowadays are really scary. Muen, who was running fast, did not expect that he would soon see the style of Konoha Whitefang. They walked and stopped along the way. When they met dusk again, the team had left the border of the Land of Fire and entered the border of the Land of Rain. A member of the Anbu suddenly appeared in front of the team in an instant. Seeing this, the whole team stopped. Tsukumo stepped forward, and the Anbu ninja whispered something in Tsukumo's ear. Then, Tsukumo said to Duin with a serious face, the Anbu found that there is a team of ninjas in front. It should be Uin. This is already behind the Konoha ninja. It seems that they are either preparing for a sneak attack, or preparing to sneak into the Land of Fire. In short, no matter what they do, they can't let the other party get what they want. Duin's face was full of murderous intent. I think so too. Pay attention to protecting the little guy next to you. After saying that, Tsukumo waved to the Anbu, and led the Anbu to rush to the enemy's place. Seeing this, the 4 members of Duin's team quickly followed. Just when Muen thought that there would be a fierce battle, Muen at the scene, saw a scene that he would never forget in his life. I saw that Tsukumo had drawn his short sword, and a layer of white light was covered on the sword. No matter whether it was ninjutsu, ninja tools or ninja, it was all a knife. Coupled with Tsukumo's magical instant body technique, it caused a one-sided massacre. This is an art of killing, and it is also the first time that Muen has seen the shock of a 5 shadow level ninja using the third tactic to kill an ordinary ninja. Chapter 10 War Situation. Although he was immersed in the swordsmanship of cutting off everything for a long time, Muen's doubts did not decrease. First, the layer of white light on the white fang knife did not look like any unique swordsmanship, nor did it look like ninjutsu. With his ability to perceive chakra, Nguyen felt that it was a chakra of a certain attribute, but not one of the 5 known chakras. Could it be a bloodline limit? However, whether in the animation of the previous life or now, I have never heard that the Hatake family has a bloodline limit, Nguyen thought. Second, the white fang short knife. Nguyen is very sure that it is just an ordinary knife, not a knife made of special metal that can conduct chakra as rumored by the outside world. However, judging from the degree of conduction and attachment of this unknown attribute chakra, the conduction efficiency of chakra is not inferior to that of special chakra weapons. Based on the above situation, it is very likely that Hatake Tsukumo has cultivated, or is cultivating a bloodline ability. This bloodline ability can generate a chakra that can be smoothly conducted in ordinary weapons. As for whether it is a bloodline limit or a bloodline elimination, it is unknown. No, judging from the fact that Hatake Kakashi did not inherit this ability, he should not have cultivated it yet, and he is probably still cultivating it. Yes, bloodline limit can be cultivated. The Land of Water Mist is a master in this area. When 2 or more attribute chakras interact with each other to form a new attribute chakra, just like the different nature changes of the cultivated chakra, when the body and mind are transformed by this new attribute chakra, then the bloodline limit or bloodline elimination is completed. Judging from White Fang's age, the transformation of the body should be very difficult, which should be the reason why the cultivation was not completely successful, but there should be no problem in application. It's a pity. If White Fang hadn't committed suicide, then with Kakashi's genius, he would have been able to complete the bloodline cultivation in his youth. Then Konoha would definitely have a new and powerful bloodline family. However, these are just Nguyen's own guesses. The ability of a ninja is the core secret of the ninja, and some are even concealed by fathers, sons, and brothers. Therefore, Nguyen would not risk the world's disapproval and directly go to ask Hatake Tsukumo about his ability. The battle had just begun, but the outcome was already determined. The battle was over before the 3 newcomers had even left the field. Without having time to clean up the battlefield, everyone kept on marching towards the Konoha headquarters. Less than half an hour later, everyone finally arrived at their destination. At this time, the sun had completely set, and the sky was getting dark. Tsukumo and Dan had gone to complete their tasks, and Inuzuka Shida and Kurama Huan had family members nearby who needed to be visited. For a while, only Nguyen was free. Since the death of his parents in this life, Nguyen has become accustomed to loneliness, and sometimes even enjoys the feeling of being alone. Just like now, everyone in the camp is very busy, and no one has the time to pay attention to a 10-year-old kid. Nguyen has no plan to rest now, so he just wanders around the camp alone, enjoying the tranquility in his heart. The person in charge of the battlefield in the Rain Country is Orochimaru and Jiraiya, the disciples of the 3rd Hokage. At the same time, in order to make up for the lack of military exploits and prestige of the two, the 3rd generation specially arranged his close friends Mizuta Manen and Utatane Koharu to assist. Like the 3rd generation, Mizuta Manen and Utatane Koharu are both guards of the 2nd generation Hokage. Their qualifications and prestige are naturally enough. At the same time, as staunch supporters of the 3rd generation, they will naturally help Orochimaru and Jiraiya with all their heart. At this time, in the tent where the person in charge is located in the central area of the camp, Hatake Tsukumo and Kato Dan, 2 elite jonin, have handed the scrolls of stored supplies to Mizuta Manen and Utatane Koharu. Hatake Tsukumo is conveying the instructions from the 3rd generation Hokage to the two. According to the intelligence, the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of Rain are ready to form an alliance, and the Kingdom of Earth is also ready to move. If they continue to entangle with the Hidden Rain, once a 3-nation alliance is formed, it will be extremely unfavorable to Konoha. Hatake Tsukumo said to the two. The 3rd Hokage requires that the front line must figure out the deployment of the forces of the Rain Village within a month at all costs. After a month, a decisive battle will be held to strive to achieve success in one battle. Hiruzen is right. Although Konoha is not bad in terms of high-end combat power, however, once a situation occurs where one country fights against 3 countries, the backbone forces will be seriously insufficient, and the situation will be very bad at that time. Mitamonen said, "It just so happens that Jiraiya has returned to the front line. We will work with Orochimaru and Jiraiya to carefully arrange and complete the task." When the bigwigs were discussing the combat situation and arranging combat plans, Muen also found an acquaintance in the camp. "Hey, Minato." The darkening sky could not hide Minato's yellow hair. Muen saw Minato from a distance. "Muen." Hearing Muen's call, Minato turned his head and saw Muen. Then, he also walked towards Muen. "Pa." The two clapped their hands and hugged. Although they had not seen each other for only 2 days, it was like a new life for the two. 2 days ago, they were just students studying hard in school, and 2 days later, they had become ninjas. 2 days ago, they were fledglings, and 2 days later, their hands were already covered in blood. There was no change in height and weight, but in each other's eyes, they were more mature. "By the way, my team leader is the disciple of the third Hokage, Jiraiya Sensei, who is a very good and interesting person." "Who is your teacher?" "It's Katoden Sensei, a very powerful ninja." The two chatted about the people they met and the things they experienced in the past 2 days. For a moment, it seemed that they were back to the school days. Somewhere in the camp, Jiraiya was having some intelligence conversations with Orochimaru. "Sensei, are you really ready for a decisive battle?" Orochimaru said, "The other ninjas of Rain Village are not a threat, but if we want to defeat Rain Village, we must overcome Hanzo the Salamander. He earned his name as a demigod through hard work. Does Sensei plan to do it himself?" "I don't know, but we can't pin our hopes on Sensei. Natsuchi Ayaku has also been making moves recently, and Anoki is not an easy opponent." Jiraiya said worriedly. "Sensei said when I came here that Tsunade would also be here by then. With Tsunade's superb medical skills, it shouldn't be a problem for her to deal with Hanzo the Salamander's poison." "I don't believe it. No matter if he is a demigod or not, we three can't beat him." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 11 Pre-War Arrangements. The Land of Rain has a small area. It rains all year round, and the land is not fertile. In any sense, it is a small country. The geographical location is extremely bad. It is located between the land of earth, the land of wind, and the land of fire. It is a country that truly survives in the cracks. For a long time, due to the disparity in strength, the land of rain has been living cautiously among the three countries. Until the man named Hanzo of the Salamander appeared, relying on his powerful strength, he broke out the reputation of demigod in the entire ninja world. After having power, the land of rain began to be dissatisfied with its current status and wanted to become a great power like the land of earth, wind, and fire. So the war began, and the land of rain began to invade the surrounding small countries. At the beginning, it was very smooth. The surrounding small countries such as the land of birds and the land of grass were defeated, and the land of rain seemed to see its future as a great power. However, at this critical moment of success, the land of wind first joined the war in the name of the land of rain, invading its allies. Later, the land of fire also joined the war for the same reason. After that, the war began to fall into a brief stalemate. However, the rain country is only a small country after all, with limited resources and insufficient strength to fight two big countries at the same time. The countermeasure adopted by the rain country is to tactically abandon the fire country front first, concentrate superior forces, first defeat the slightly weaker wind country, and then confront the fire country. Obviously, this plan has failed. The wind country is unexpectedly tenacious, and the power of the demigod did not make it succumb. The fire country has already pushed the front line completely into the territory of the rain country. In the territory of the rain country, in a secret base somewhere in the hidden rain village, the demigod salamander Hanzo walked out of the meeting place. I thought to myself, if I had decisively formed an alliance with Tsunagakure to fight Konoha from the beginning, would there have been a different result? I still underestimated the strength of the 5 major countries, or was I too confident in my own strength? No, if my strength had not declined too quickly, my strength should have been sufficient. It seems that even my body cannot withstand the poison of the salamander, and I must end the war before my strength declines further. I hope Tsunagakure can abide by the covenant. No, how can I pin my hopes on others abiding by the covenant? Only my own invincible strength is the most important guarantee. When Konoha pushed the war with a Megacure into the territory of the Rain Country, the balance of victory had already tilted towards Konoha. However, a Megacure downplayed the concept of the village and established a large number of secret bases within the country. This made it difficult for Konoha to easily find the Megacure's main force for a decisive battle. Relying on the bases, a Megacure and Konoha fought a tug-of-war, extending the timeline of the war, looking forward to new variables and opportunities. The truce and alliance with Tsunagakure is a new variable and opportunity. 10 days have passed since Muen arrived at Konoha's camp in the Land of Rain. For the past 10 days, he has been assigned simple tasks such as patrolling the camp. He also noticed several teams of enemy ninjas spying on him during the mission, but he reported it directly and handed it over to other ninjas to deal with. However, he often saw that Teacher Duan was very busy going in and out every day. On this day, while patrolling again, he met Teacher Duan and 3 other ninjas going out on a mission. Teacher Duan, you are the guiding Jonin of the 3 of us. Why do you go out on a mission every day without taking the 3 of us? Muen said jokingly while blocking Duan. Yes, teacher, take us on a mission quickly. I said that we have to kill Jonin. Where can I go to kill Jonin if I patrol every day? Inozuka Shida hurriedly agreed loudly. Kurama Huan lowered her head on the side, and her blushing face could not be hidden. However, she remained consistent in her actions and stood in front of Duan. Haha, the mission is too urgent recently, so I can't take you with me. Just do your own work well. There will always be a day when you go out to perform the mission. Why rush? Katodan laughed, pushed the 3 people aside, and left in a hurry. The 3 looked at each other, sighed in unison, and could only continue the patrol mission. Just like that, another 5 days passed. At night, in the big tent in the center of the camp, the 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen secretly arrived. Okay, since all the secret bases of Uin have been investigated clearly, then, arrange the combat mission now. The 3rd generation stood up and said. At this time, everyone in the tent stood up. Danzo, Mitokado-en, Utatane Koharu, Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Katodan and others were all waiting for the 3rd generation's order seriously. Katodan set off immediately after the meeting, sneak into the Wind Country, and meet Hatake Tsukumo. It turned out that Tsukumo had left the Rain Country a few days ago, and because the spirit transformation technique has an incomparable advantage in reconnaissance, the mission required it, so Dan stayed for a few more days. Now, we have to rush over to meet them. Yes, 3rd K. Duan took the order decisively. Only Tsunade was standing aside, frowning, as if she was a little worried, but she didn't say anything. Danzo, take your people, and go to the border of the Land of Earth with me. I want to meet Inoki. We can't let the guys from my Wagakure mess things up. Yes. Danzo also gladly accepted the order. Orochimaru, Jiraiya, Tsunade, the Land of Rain is left to you. As he said that, the 3rd K looked at his 2 old friends again. Menayan, Koharu, you 2 should cooperate well. Okay, teacher. Don't worry, Hiruzen. Teacher has an important mission and needs to leave for a while. After tomorrow, you will have new missions. No matter who the captain is, you must obey orders. It turned out that after the meeting, Duan found Muen and the other 2. Although he only led them for 2 days, it was the first time he led a new ninja. He was still a little worried about the mission, so he couldn't help but come over to explain it. Muen, remember not to be reckless. You are the strongest, you must protect them. Shishin, don't be greedy. It doesn't matter whether you can kill the Jonin or not. For a ninja, the greatest success is to complete the mission alive. You must understand that only by staying alive can you become a Hokage. Hui-yun, be bolder. Your illusion is very strong. Don't feel inferior because of your poor health. Do you understand? Duan explained to Muen and the other 2. Teacher Duan, can't you take us with you to carry out the mission? Besides, I'm a medical ninja, so I can help. Muen said anxiously. Hey, Muen. What you mean is that Hui Yun and I are just a burden and can't help at all. Without waiting for Kato Duan's response, Shida was angry. Teacher, I'm also very strong. The fainting last time was just an accident. It was because Muen's tactics were unreasonable. I promise that I will not be a drag. Teacher, take me with you. Hui Yun was anxiously turning around and said, me too, teacher, take me with you too. Okay. When you have more experience and stronger strength, no matter what mission you have in the future, the four of us will carry it out together. But now, obey orders first. Looking at the three people who still refused to give up, Duan had to say, please recommend and collect. Chapter 12 Cruel War. After getting rid of Muen and the other two, a beautiful figure appeared in Kato Dan's mind. After hesitating for a while, he left directly. The heavy rain kept pouring down, and Kato Dan ran away quickly in the rain. In the distance, Tsunade, wearing armored combat uniform, looked at the gradually receding figure and silently sent blessings in her heart. The next night, the Konoha ninjas were divided into 23 groups to carry out a comprehensive siege on the Rain Country stronghold. Muen and the other two were assigned to the 18th group, responsible for attacking a stronghold on the southwest border of the Rain Country. The leader of the new Muen team was a burly fat man, about 16 or 17 years old, with a big word food on the front of his combat uniform. That's right, it's the symbol of the Konoha Akimichi clan, and the person who came is called Akimichi Tangdang. He is already a senior chunin, and has the strength of a jonin. As long as he successfully completes this mission, it shouldn't be a problem to be promoted to jonin. After learning about the three's respective strengths, Akimichi Tangdang was not surprised, and did not say much. He just said that they must obey orders in battle, and asked the four people not to leave each other's sight and to cooperate with his attack in battle. The leader of the 18th group is Hyuga Yingsong, a senior ninja of the Hyuga clan. He is in his 30s and wears a white combat uniform. During the march, he kept his white eyes open, and under the cover of night and heavy rain, he carried out precise strikes on the ninjas he found along the way. Along the way, Muen accurately realized the value of the white eyes in a war. He is a good comrade of his own side and a nightmare for the enemy. After walking and stopping all the way for more than 2 hours, the group has arrived at this secret stronghold without any stop. The duel between the army is different from the duel between individual ninjas or teams. It relies on the absolute crushing of hard power, and does not require much sophisticated tactics. This time, when the army was approaching and breaking into the enemy's stronghold, they were faced with the Rain Ninja's request to adopt a policy of killing everyone, regardless of age or family. This had been made clear before the start of this combat operation. When hearing this order, the surrounding ninjas all had indifferent expressions. Muen, who came from a civilized society in his previous life, was a bit of a clean freak in morality, and for a moment, he couldn't accept it in his heart. It was at this time that Muen clearly realized that this was the war in the ninja world. There was no justice to speak of when the war reached this point. Even in the animation of the previous life, the bright and majestic Konoha did not necessarily represent justice. The opponents faced by Muen and his four companions were four middle-aged ninjas, two of whom used fire escape ninjutsu, one used earth escape, and the other used water escape ninjutsu. Akimichi Tangdang directly used the multiplication technique to crush the enemy with powerful force, while Muen and his three companions helped to resist the enemy's attack and defend. At this moment, Muen showed his talent of 5 attributes chakra. When facing the opponent's ninjutsu, he was always able to use the characteristics of attribute restraint and use the corresponding ninjutsu to easily resolve it. Kyudeo Tangdang is worthy of being a person who is about to be promoted to a jonin. He showed a strong attack ability and his gestures were extremely powerful. Soon, the 4 enemies in front of him had become 4 corpses. The war entered a white-hot stage at the beginning, but the huge gap in strength made the stalemate stage between the two sides extremely short. The ninjas of Yuan were defeated soon, and the war immediately changed from collective stalemate to individual pursuit. The 4-member team of Kyudeo Tangdang also targeted a group of 3 ninjas and chased them. When chasing the enemy, don't rush forward, pay attention to the surroundings. They are more familiar with the terrain than us. Be careful of encountering traps or being ambushed. Qiu Tangdang taught his experience to the three people during the pursuit. In his previous life, Nguyen understood that the more smoothly and happily, the more cautious you should be. How many people fell at the last step before success, and there are many things that are too happy and sad. I understand, Mr. Tangdong, don't worry, these remnants will be easy to capture. The most excited person at this time was Inuzuka Shida. He had been executing tactics just now, and he had been playing in the supporting position. He had been holding back for a long time, and now was the time to vent. I don't believe it. I can't kill the Jonin, and I can't deal with a few remnants. Inuzuka Shida muttered to himself. At this time, the three ninjas in front suddenly split into two groups and fled. Mr. Tangdang, how do we chase them? Do we have to separate? Nguyen asked Qiu Tangdang at the first time. We don't have to separate, just follow me. Qiu Tangdang hurriedly replied. Of course we will chase them separately, and leave the single person to me. Inuzuka Shida didn't listen to what Qiu Tangdang said at all, and he rushed out of the distance with a quick body technique. Shida, wait. Before Qiu Tangdang finished speaking, Shida had disappeared. The Akimichi family has always been known for attacking, and speed has never been an advantage. It was a bit difficult for Akimichi Tangdang to catch up with Shida immediately. Moon, you catch up first. Remember to kill the enemy first. Save your life first. Akimichi Tangdang said to Moon, me and Huan will be there soon. Asshole, if it wasn't for Inuzuka asking me, I really wanted to ignore this guy. Akimichi Tangdang thought secretly in his heart. Okay, Mr. Tangdang. Before the voice fell, Moon had already left in an instant. Although Moon felt that Inuzuka Shida was a problem child with a bad personality, he was still worried about him as a teammate after all. Akimichi Tangdang had to abandon the other two and chased after him with Kurama Huan. When the 23 groups of Konoha ninjas acted separately, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade were closing their eyes and resting together, preparing for the next battle. The biggest variable tonight is which bases Hanzo of the Salamander hidden. Only by defeating this pillar of Yuan can this battle be considered a success. In less than half an hour, news about Hanzo of the Salamander came. Team 13 discovered Hanzo of the Salamander during the attack. Utatane Koharu came hurriedly with the news. The attack site of Group 13 is very close to our camp. It seems that this old guy has been keeping an eye on us. It was right to wait in the camp. Orochimaru said gloomily. Order Group 13 to delay and try to wait until the three of us arrive. If it is impossible, the main thing is to preserve the manpower. Jiraiya conveyed the order to Utatane Koharu. Let's go. We have waited for so long. It is our turn to appear. Let us end this battle. The heroic Tsunade made a domineering declaration. Then, the three of them quickly rushed into the rain. This battle cannot be lost. Please recommend and collect. Chapter 13 Between Attack and Defense. Although Nguyen was very anxious, he did not lose his mind. On the contrary, his mind was unexpectedly more focused. While running, Nguyen keenly noticed the abnormality in front of him and hurriedly stopped. Bang, bang. Nguyen threw the shuriken at the discordant place in front of him, and suddenly heard a series of explosions. This was someone who set up a detonation array in a very short time. If Nguyen was a little careless, he would have been dead at this time. It seems that this is a trap for us. Nguyen thought to himself. Persimmons are only picked on the weak. It seems that they are underestimated. Come out. Let's face off. You are too cautious to attack me, a child, and you are also sneaking up on me. Nguyen shouted loudly, while concentrating on sensing the surroundings. Suddenly, Nguyen felt a weak chakra coming from the ground behind him. It turned out that the enemy had sneaked to his vicinity through the earth escape. Nguyen quickly formed a seal, and before the enemy got up to attack, he put his palm on the ground and released the lightning strike. I saw Nguyen's palm emit lightning, which was directly transmitted to the ground. I heard a bang. It turned out that there was only a clone underground. You dare not come out directly to fight the enemy with a clone. It seems that the people of Yuan are really just cowards. Nguyen continued to taunt the enemy. At the same time, out of sight, another Nguyen appeared and continued to track Inuzuka Shida. It turned out that Nguyen had sensed the enemy's position long before the series of explosions. And taking advantage of the explosion, He used the shadow clone to entangle with the enemy, and the real body used the earth escape to continue to chase forward. Since it is a trap, then Shida is in danger. The main task now is to catch up with the boy, ensure his safety, and then delay time until Mr. Akimichi Tangdang catches up. Nguyen thought so. Inozuka Shida felt high-spirited, as if in the next second, he would become Hokage, because of his meritorious service in killing the enemy, and directly reach the peak of his life. The prince was also quite excited, barking woof woof woof, non-stop, as if cheering for Inozuka Shida to be crowned Hokage. After chasing for an unknown period of time, Inozuka Shida finally realized that something was wrong. The enemy in front seemed to have been hanging on to him. When he felt that he was about to catch up, the opponent's speed suddenly increased. When he felt that he could no longer catch up, the opponent pretended to be exhausted and slowed down, giving him hope of catching up. It was excusable once or twice, but if this happened repeatedly, there was only one possibility. It seemed that he was being teased. Inozuka Shida's anger had reached a point where it could not be aggravated, but fortunately he still had reason. Pretending to be unaware, he continued to chase forward. When the distance between the two became the farthest, Inozuka Shida suddenly turned around and ran wildly in the direction he came from. Finally found it? It's not so stupid. The ninja in front reacted immediately, first with a wicked smile on his face, and then his voice became cold and ruthless. But it's too late. If you, a mere genin, escape from my hands, then wouldn't I be a jonin in vain? After saying that, he directly performed the instant body technique and chased after him. At the same time, Akimichi Tangdang and Kurama Huan, who were rushing from the rear, also encountered trouble. The two of them were besieged by 6 ninjas from the other side. The most important thing was that these 6 people did not seek a decisive battle, but mainly harassed, which made Akimichi Tangdang very annoyed. The Akimichi family's ninjutsu is a powerful weapon for attacking citizen strongholds in large-scale combat. However, when fighting with a small group of enemies, it is easy to expose the weakness of insufficient agility. If there is no companion to cover, it is very easy to be targeted. At this time, Akimichi Tangdang was left with Kurama Huan, who was not good at physical skills, which was a perfect opportunity in the eyes of the enemy. It seems that we are being targeted. Akimichi Tangdang immediately thought of the key point. These guys must have collected intelligence about our group through the concentrated operations at the beginning, and made targeted tactical arrangements. We were really underestimated. At this moment, Kurama Huan used illusion to control an enemy ninja. Akimichi Tangdang certainly would not give up this opportunity. He used the multiplication technique fist and hit the ninja hard. It seemed that he would not survive. However, Kurama Huan was already panting at this time. After a long journey tonight, attacking, chasing, ambushed, his physical strength was almost at its limit. The situation seemed to be getting more and more critical. Inozuka Shida felt mixed emotions in his heart, anger towards the enemy, guilt towards his partners, and dissatisfaction with himself intertwined, and he could not express it in words. He took a deep breath, suppressed all his emotions, turned them into motivation to escape, and sped away. It seemed that he could feel that his friends were not in a good mood, and the prince also calmed down at this time. However, the enemy chasing behind did not give Inozuka Shida any chance, relying on the flash body technique to catch up all the way, not caring about the waste of chakra. In less than 10 breaths, the enemy was in front of Inozuka Shida in a flash, turned over and kicked. Inozuka Shida, who had no time to dodge, could only curl up his body and cross his arms in front of his head to resist, and was kicked out with a bang. Without waiting for himself to land, Inozuka Shida decisively activated the 4 legs technique, and at the moment of landing, all 4 legs were strung out at the same time. Just avoided the enemy who was coming over. After chasing and being chased, Shida faced the enemy head on for the first time. Opposite him was a middle-aged ninja, not tall, with ordinary looks, and 2 scars on his right cheek crossed, adding a bit of ferocity. Inozuka Shida lay on the ground, staring at the enemy opposite, and the raging anger seemed to be able to spray out from his eyes and burn the enemy to death. Boy, don't look at me like that. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame Konoha for being too arrogant. The Uin Jonin didn't seem to be in a hurry. Although Konoha is very strong, it has to pay a price to annihilate us Uin. Your team is one of the prizes. Humph. Mr. Akimichi Tangdong is a genius of the famous Akimichi family of Konoha. You are a bunch of rabble, and you are not worthy of shouting. Inozuka Shida said relentlessly. No matter how strong a person is, he has weaknesses. As long as you juniors are transferred away, Akimichi, who has lost his cover, will be no different from pigs and sheep waiting to be slaughtered. The Yuan Jonin said indifferently, so, don't think about delaying time, kid. No one will come to save you. Hearing the enemy's words, Inozuka Shida was very anxious. If others were hurt, because of his own reasons, he would not be able to wash away his sins, even if he went to hell. Thinking of this, Inozuka Shida could no longer bear it, and cooperated with the prince to use his strongest ninjutsu Yatong-Ya, forming two tornadoes to attack the enemy fiercely. Please recommend and collect. Chapter 14 The Price of Victory. Yatong-Ya is a secret technique of the Konoha Inozuka clan. It is a strong attack ninjutsu that can only be performed after launching the orc clone, based on the unity of man and dog. However, when facing a prepared jonin, no matter how powerful the ninjutsu is, it is just a waste of chakra if it cannot hit the enemy. The reason why Yuan Jonin was not in a hurry to attack Inozuka Shida, but was so serious about analyzing his current situation with Inozuka Shida, was not that he did not know that time was running out. Instead, from the intelligence he learned, the Inozuka clan was very wild. Once Inozuka Shida was obsessed with avoiding survival, he would be able to successfully kill him in the end, but it would also take more time. The longer the time, the more variables. If he wanted to kill this young Konoha genin as soon as possible at a far enough distance, it would be possible, only if he aroused his desire to attack. Sure enough, Inozuka Shida attacked him, recklessly hoping to kill him with a powerful ninjutsu. It was exactly what he wanted. After just a few breaths, when the effect of the Yatong-Ya ninjutsu ended, Inozuka Shida and the prince were both out of breath, obviously due to excessive consumption of chakra. Facing Inozuka Shida's cannibalistic gaze, the Yuan Jonin rushed straight in front of him and kicked him away. However, Inozuka Shida was unable to defend against this kick. Afterwards, the Yuan Jonin used a flash body technique to catch up with the knocked away Inozuka Shida and kicked him from top to bottom, trampling Inozuka Shida and the prince on the muddy ground. Boy, don't be a ninja in your next life. You are not suitable. As he said this, the Yuan Jonin held a kunai in his hand and stabbed it straight down at Inozuka Shida's neck. When Muen hurried to arrive, he just happened to see this situation. Without time to think, Muen formed a seal with his left hand and stretched out his right hand, with his index finger pointing forward and the other four fingers clenched. A small ball of rapidly rotating wind appeared at the fingertips, which was thin at the front and wide at the back like a bullet, and shot out and headed straight for the back of the head of the rain-hidden ninja. Wind bullet technique. Without waiting to see the effect of the wind bullet technique, Muen instantly moved forward. The rain-hidden ninja naturally felt threatened, and when he looked back and saw Muen, he was also surprised that he could arrive so quickly. Naturally, he did not dare to neglect the sudden attack of the ninjutsu. As soon as he raised his hand and used the kunai in his hand to block the attack, Muen's next round of attack, a roundhouse kick, arrived. The impact of the wind bullet technique had not passed yet, and the rain-hidden ninja could only give up the prey in his hand and dodge to the side. Muen did not continue to attack, but grabbed Inozuka Shida and the prince, and quickly retreated to distance himself. Muen, go quickly. Don't worry about me. Mr. Akido Tangdong and Huan are in danger. Only if you go back can you save them. Inozuka Shida said anxiously. Idiot, you can only save others if you survive. Don't you understand such a simple truth? Muen stared at Yuan Jonin and said to Inozuka Shida without turning his head, besides, Mr. Akido Tangdong is a genius of the Akimichi family. This is just a small scene. How could you need to worry about it? Little ghost, how could you come so early? How is Kinky? Yuan Jonin stared at Muen hatefully and said gloomily. Are you talking about the guy who set up the detonating talisman array to intercept me on the way? Muen deliberately said with a little exaggeration. I've already rushed here. What do you think? He must have been killed by me. I used a detonating talisman, and it blew up directly with a bang. I want you all to die and be buried with him. Hearing Muen say this, the Yuan Jonin was instantly furious, and the scar on his face became more hideous, as if with a trace of sadness, and he rushed up directly. Hurry up and recover your strength. Muen only had time to tell Inuzuka Shida a sentence, and he rushed up directly. It was different from the last time against Shijiro. When fighting Shijiro, the tactics were formulated in advance, and even the body of Kato Dan, who needed to be protected, was just a bait, which was a case of waiting for the opportunity to tire out, and the advantage was obvious. This duel with this Yuan Jonin was a fair confrontation, and there was really someone behind him who needed to be protected at all times, and he could not retreat. For Muen at this time, it was indeed a huge pressure. Under the crazy attack of the Yuan Jonin, Muen gritted his teeth and supported himself. After being knocked away every time, he did not stop, and could only rush forward. When Muen was knocked away again, Yu Yinjin seemed to have regained his composure. No, he should have become more determined and cold. Thundernet technique. When Muen rushed up again, Yu Yinjin launched a ninjutsu. Lightning shot out from his hands in a net-like manner towards Muen. Muen was hit by this ninjutsu, and felt paralyzed all over, and unable to move. Taking advantage of the gap when Muen was paralyzed, Yu Yinjin came to Muen in an instant, charged his right fist, and the lightning flashed on his fist, and punched Muen in the face. Muen flew directly in the direction of Inuzuka Shida. At this time, under this punch, Muen's consciousness had begun to blur, and his left eye could no longer see anything. Muen knew that his left eyeball had been blown out. Muen! Inuzuka Shida shouted in despair. At the same time, he rushed at Yuan Jonin with his last strength. I will fight you. However, there was no effect. He was easily knocked down. He struggled to get up, but was knocked down again, until he could no longer get up. Muen struggled to sit up. His chakra had been exhausted in resisting these two attacks. He was injured all over his body, his left eye was blind, and he could hardly move. He could only wait for the arrival of the god of death. King Kui is my dearest brother, so you go to hell to accompany him. Yuan Jonin squatted down, and heavy rain poured down. It was impossible to tell whether it was tears or rain that fell from the corners of his eyes. Aren't you afraid? I will kill him again in hell, Muen said with some difficulty. Hearing this, Yuan Jonin could no longer bear it. Lightning flashed on his fist again, and he was about to deliver a fatal blow. Suddenly, Yuan Jonin's eyes widened, blood gushed from the corners of his mouth, the lightning on his fist extinguished, and the breath of life gradually faded away. It turned out that Muen had released the shadow clone technique at this critical moment. The shadow clone in the distance disappeared, and the chakra that had been separated instantly returned to his body, giving him the power to strike. His 5 fingers formed into claws, and at his fingertips were 5 rotating winds like drills. Wind Claw Hand, Muen's unique ninjutsu, directly pierced through the heart of the rain-hidden ninja. You are not suitable to be a ninja. After saying this, Muen had no more strength left, fell to the muddy ground, and gradually lost consciousness. The heavy rain in the rain country still showed no sign of stopping. Inuzuka Shida, who was already desperate, still couldn't believe what he saw, and was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, Inuzuka Shida woke up, and struggled to crawl towards Muen, until he heard the still beating heart. He laughed, and then cried again. Please recommend and collect. Chapter 15 Just Live. Are the ninjas of Yuan only able to crawl in the dark? Don't they even have the courage to fight me head on? Under the heavy rain, Muen's clone kept provoking him, trying to expose the hidden ninjas of Yuan, while concentrating on staying alert to prevent being attacked. Big Brother said that the enemy will be more anxious, and I only need to harass and delay them. Since the ninjas on the opposite side are afraid of falling into traps and being ambushed and dare not move forward, then I just need to hide well. I must not go out. The longer the time, the more powerful it will be for us. King Kui, a ninja of Yuan, thought so. What King Kui didn't know was that Muen had already sensed his current position. He just thought that fighting him now was not the top priority. Using the clone to delay him here would weaken the enemy's combat effectiveness and give his side a better chance of winning. I don't know how long the confrontation lasted. In King Kui's sight, the Konoha ninja who had been on guard suddenly turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared. Oh no, it's a clone. King Kui's eyes widened, with an expression of disbelief on his face. The target I have been confronting for a long time turned out to be a clone, which means that my mission has completely failed. When exactly did it happen? I never took my eyes off him. Could it be that the one who came at the beginning was a clone? King Kui pondered, and was extremely confused. Oh no, my brother is in danger. Thinking of this, King Kui immediately jumped up from the hiding place, and chased in the direction of his brother. My brother is a Jonin, he will be fine. The shadow clones of the Konoha ninjas have disappeared, so my brother must have won. King Kui comforted herself while running. However, for some reason, the uneasiness in my heart became more serious. Akimichi Tangdang looked at Kurama Huan, who was obviously about to run out of energy, but still gritted his teeth and persisted, and then looked at the 5 enemy ninjas who still did not change their countermeasures, and did not confront him head on. It seems that there is no way out, I can only use that trick. Akimichi Tangdang thought of this, and no longer hesitated in his actions. Fools, do you really think that the secret technique of my Akimichi family is so insignificant? Do you really think that it is so easy to catch my weakness? Today, I will show you how powerful I, Akimichi Tangdang, am. After saying that, Akimichi Tangdang performed a new ninjutsu. Butterfly transformation technique. Akimichi Tangdang's burly body became visibly thinner, and a huge amount of chakra surged all over his body, gradually gathering behind his back, to form a pair of butterfly wings. Needless to say, after performing the secret technique, Akimichi Tangdang was not just thinner, but his whole body exuded a strong oppressive force. Not only was his strength stronger, but his flexibility turned from a disadvantage to an advantage, and he had the momentum to break all laws with one force. Before the rain-hidden ninja could react to this drastic change, 2 of them were quickly killed by Akimichi Tangdang. The remaining 3 people saw that the situation was not right and immediately scattered and fled. Seeing this, Akimichi Tangdang did not pursue, but turned to Kurama Huan and asked, "How is it, little girl from Kurama family, can you still hold on?" "No problem, Mr. Tangdang." "Okay, then we will immediately support Muen and Shida." King Ki suppressed the uneasiness in her heart, and rushed to the battle site as quickly as possible. What she saw were 2 ninjas from Konoha. One was sitting on the ground, seemingly seriously injured, holding a comatose puppy in his arms. The other was lying on the ground with blood all over his face, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. He was the guy who used the shadow clone to play tricks on him. "Where is my brother?" King Ki asked. Inozuka Shida did not answer the boy, and struggled to stand up and face the enemy. Unfortunately, he was too seriously injured, so he could only take out a Kyune and half squat and half kneel to be on guard. Seeing that the Konoha ninja opposite did not reply, King Ki's heart became more and more uneasy. Looking around, he finally found the figure of his brother in the blind spot of his sight. He lay on his back, his eyes dull, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth, a big hole in his chest, and the puddle of rainwater next to him was bright red, and he could no longer tell which was water and which was rain. "Brother!" King Ki let out a shrill cry and ran to his brother in 2 steps. He squatted down and wiped the blood from his brother's mouth. He found that he was no longer breathing. Tears burst out of his eyes and he whispered, "Brother, I hurt you. My brother is useless." Then, he wiped his tears randomly, stared at Inozuka Shida and Muen with bloodshot eyes. "I'll send these 2 people down to accompany you." Looking at the rain ninja rushing up, Inozuka Shida was on full alert, and secretly swore in his heart that he would stop this person, even if he had to bite with his teeth. But God still favored them. At this moment, a man with butterfly wings on his back was like a god descending from the sky, and took the enemy's life with a punch. The world of ninjas is so cruel. Right and wrong don't matter. Only strength is absolute. Although he had lost a lot of weight, looking at the food mark on the clothes of the man who had obviously gained weight, Inozuka Shida naturally knew that it was the man who came to save him. "Mr. Akimichi Tangdang, you are here." After saying that, he fainted with a smile on his face. "Fortunately, I came just in time. My life should be saved. It's good to be alive." Akimichi Tangdang looked at Kurama Huan and said. This time, he was shocked to find that Kurama Huan was already in tears. But, Mr. Tangdang, Nguyen lost a lot of blood. Will he die? Kurama Huan cried. Don't worry, he won't die, but he needs to be treated quickly. As he said that, Akimichi Tangdang picked up a person with one hand and ran away. Follow us, the little girl of the Kurama family. We have to rush to the gathering place. Asshole. Tsunade punched the ground, and the ground shook. That old guy didn't even confront us head on. It was obvious that he was trying to delay time. It turned out that the three of them found Hanzo the Salamander, based on the news from the front line. After a great battle, Hanzo the Salamander actually escaped. This frustrated the three people who had hoped to end the war through a great battle. Tsunade was especially angry. At this time, Katoden had already gone to the Land of Wind. If there was no result on the battlefield of the Land of Rain, Katoden would be in danger for one more day. Don't worry, Tsunade. Orochimaru analyzed calmly. This has been expected for a long time. This old guy probably wants to delay time. When the Sand Village comes, everything will be different. We can't let this old guy wander around. It's too dangerous. Jiraiya said, if he wants to run, we will keep chasing him and force him to fight with us. After that, Jiraiya took the lead in pursuit, followed by Tsunade and Orochimaru. Chapter 16. Changing Situations. On the second day of Konoha's full-scale attack on Yugakure, in the office of the Kazekage in the Sand Village, the top leaders of Sand Village gathered together. Konoha has already started a full-scale attack. What should we do? The second generation of Kazekage Salmon sat in the first seat and spoke. According to the covenant, we should support Yugakure. An elder expressed his opinion. Humph. Yugakure has wolfish ambitions and has a blood feud with us. Why should we rescue them? Another elder retorted. Konoha is powerful. It is indeed difficult for us to resist the Sand Village alone. We have been under great pressure over the years. The demigod of Yugakure is indeed powerful and is the best foreign aid to fight against Konoha. However, if Yugakure is too ambitious and too powerful, then it is hard to say who will lead the covenant between us. Chiyo also expressed her opinion. Then according to what you said, Chiyo, a mega cure can still be saved, but we need to grasp this time well. The second generation Kazekage said thoughtfully, if we rescue them too early, a mega cure's preserved strength will be too strong. If we rescue them too late, a mega cure will be gone. Then when should we attack again? Then let's do it in 5 days. The second generation Kazekage made the final decision and said, everyone should use these few days to prepare for war and be ready to go at any time. Somewhere in the Kingdom of Wind, Hatake Tsukumo and Katoden are hiding here. The decisive battle in the Kingdom of Rain has already begun. From the information we have now, the Sand Village is loose on the outside, but tight on the inside, and is actively preparing for war. It seems that they will not stand idly by. Katoden said. It is certain that Sand Village will join the war, but they will not rescue a mega cure right now. Hatake Tsukumo calmly analyzed the current situation. Sand Village must be waiting for the time when Konoha and a mega cure are both defeated, and then they will reap the benefits. So, we should be able to prepare for a few days. At that time, the two of us will separate and assassinate important figures in the Wind Country to delay the Sand Village army. In the Grass Country, the third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen led the Konoha Anbu and fought against the army led by the third Tsuchikage Jinoki. Sarutobi Hiruzen held the Sarutobi stick, and he could switch between 5 types of ninjutsu freely, with powerful and varied means. No ki flew in the air, and the power of the bloodline elimination dust release was extremely strong, and those who were hit would die. Neither side could do anything to the other, so they had to agree to a truce and fight again the next day. Hiratsune, there is news from the Land of Rain that Hanzo the Salamander has escaped. It seems that the war in the Land of Rain will not end in a short time. Shimura Danzo said to Sarutobi Hiruzen, do you want me to go over there? After all, the three of them are still too young. With Yan and Koharu helping them, nothing will happen. Besides, young people also need experience. Besides, you are needed here. Sarutobi Hiruzen naturally had his own calculations. He succeeded the position of Hokage too hastily, and in too short a time. It was the time to establish his authority and cultivate his power. As long as his 3 disciples can make military achievements, they will be able to legitimately succeed to the high position after the war, and they will be their natural pillars. Nguyen lay in the field hospital for a whole day before waking up. Lying on the hospital bed, recalling this battle, the feeling of surviving a disaster was particularly strong. It was great to be alive. He touched the bandage on his left eye with his hand. This eye was considered blind. It was not a good feeling to be a one-eyed dragon. Should I try to get a Sharingan or a Byakugan? I often had this thought when I watched anime in my previous life. But Nguyen also knew that this was just a thought. Whether it was Uchiha or Hyuga, they would never allow their family's eyes to be left outside. Even the future copy ninja Kakashi caused the Uchiha family to be furious after transplanting the Sharingan. If it weren't for Uchiha Fugaku, who was already the clan leader at the time, who stopped him, it would be hard to say how big a commotion would have been. With Nguyen's current background, let alone not being able to get these two types of eyes, even if he had them, he wouldn't dare to put them in his eye sockets. Besides, Nguyen has a bit of mental cleanliness, so it's better to stay away from other people's eyes. However, at this moment, a guess that he had long ago emerged in Nguyen's mind, and this is a good time to try it out. Oh, Nguyen-jun, you finally woke up. At this moment, Kurama Huan walked in and saw Nguyen open his one eye and said happily, Nguyen-jun, don't be sad. Although your left eye is gone, but, Kurama Huan cursed herself for being stupid. She wanted to comfort Nguyen, but she couldn't say anything. She was so anxious that tears were about to flow out. It's okay. I'm lucky to be alive. I dare not ask for more. As she said that, Nguyen naturally reached out and patted Kurama Huan's head. Kurama Huan was stunned. She only felt that Nguyen was as warm as an older brother. He was obviously 2 years younger than her. I don't know what she thought of, and her face under the oil paint turned red again. By the way, how is Shida after I fainted? Nguyen asked. Oh, Shida-kun has woken up. He was here just now. But he has been blaming himself since he woke up, saying that he dragged everyone down. Kurama Huan told Nguyen what happened after she fainted. Nguyen listened and thought about something. I see, it was really a close call. After listening to Kurama Huan, Nguyen said with emotion. Even if he lamented his good luck, he also lamented the cruelty of war. Inozuka Shida wandered outside Nguyen's medical tent, mumbling something in his mouth, and for a moment he didn't dare to enter. Through Kurama Huan, Nguyen learned that Inozuka Shida woke up before him. After that, during his coma, he had been taking care of himself with injuries, and no matter how he persuaded him, he would not come in. Nguyen also felt Inozuka Shida outside the tent. It's Shida, why don't you come in? Inozuka Shida took a deep breath, walked in, bowed 90 degrees, and said, Nguyen, I'm sorry. Nguyen, if it weren't for my greed and recklessness, your left eye wouldn't be like this now. I'm sorry for you. As he said, Inozuka Shida was already crying. You saved my life. From now on you can ask me to do anything. I will definitely repay your kindness. Although the contact time is not long, but Nguyen can feel that Inozuka Shida is a proud person in his heart. It is unimaginable to be able to do what he is now. Shida, what are you talking about repaying or not repaying? Aren't we teammates in the same team? Aren't these what teammates should do? Nguyen said jokingly, I don't need you to repay me for anything. Besides, I saved the future Hokage, and I can brag about it for the rest of my life. Haha. No matter what, I will repay you. People in the Inozuka family must keep their promises. Inozuka Shida said seriously again. Then live well, Shida. Living well is the best way to repay me. Nguyen said seriously with a gleam in his eyes. Chapter 17 Exit the front. On the morning of the 5th day, when Konoha launched a full-scale attack on Ugakure, the Konoha Rain Country Battlefield Command issued a decision to transfer some seriously injured soldiers to the rear, and Nguyen and Inozuka Shida were also on the transfer list. After a few days of recuperation and treatment, especially after Nguyen woke up, he used medical ninjutsu day and night to accelerate the healing of his own injuries, and the injuries on his body have basically healed. At least compared to Inozuka Shida, it is much better. Didn't you see Inozuka Shida still limping and leaning on crutches? Nguyen, however, has been able to travel without any hindrance. Except for the bandage on his left eye, there is no sign of injury. Nguyen felt that he would never be able to return to the village for recuperation. Even if he fought the enemy for 300 rounds right now, there would be no problem. However, since it was the village's decision, Muen could only obey it. Silently, he packed his bags with everyone, waited for the escort ninja to arrive, and retreated to the rear. After a while, the escort ninja arrived at the field hospital. The leading ninja, who was carrying the Uchiha clan emblem, was quite young, about 20 years old, and walked straight to the person in charge of the field hospital to conduct the handover before the escort. In this group of 10 escort ninjas, in addition to seeing Kurama Huan, Muen also found two familiar faces. One was Akimichi Tangdang, who had been his temporary captain, and the other was Muen's best friend, the sunny boy with yellow hair, Minato Namikaze. When Muen found Minato Namikaze also saw Muen. Looking at his best friend's eyes wrapped in gauze, he asked with concern, "Muen, what happened to your eyes?" "It's a minor injury. It's okay. It will be fine in a few days. Don't worry about me." Muen smiled slightly, looking at Minato's haggard face. Muen said, "What's wrong with you? It seems that you are not in a good mood." Then, the two began to talk about their experiences in the past few days. They were all full of emotion, as if they were in another world. In this short period of time, the two went from school students to new ninjas in the ninja world. Afterwards, the two began to carry out the mission, killing people, shedding blood, and seeing corpses all over the ground. Minato even experienced the powerlessness of his companions falling in a pool of blood. That's right, two of Minato's teammates of the same period, one of whom has been left forever on the battlefield of the Rain Country, fell in front of Minato, but he was powerless. Muen was a little better. After all, he was a mature soul. He knew the cruelty of this world early, and had prepared himself in advance. But it was different for Minato. He was really only 10 years old. Under this series of shocks, it was a miracle that his spirit remained normal. Not to mention, compared to Muen, Minato had more experience. "Oh, so you two know each other?" At this time, Akito Tomo also came over. It turned out that during the time when Muen was injured, Akito Tomo had been carrying out missions with Minato Namikaze, and the two became friends during the missions. In the eyes of Akimichi Tangdang, both Minato and Moon are geniuses. Moon is meticulous, and has rich means. His mentor is the lover of the princess of Konoha. Minato has excellent fighting talent and treats people gently. His mentor is the disciple of the third generation of Hokage. No matter how you look at it, these two people will definitely be important figures in Konoha in the future. With Akimichi Tangdang's intentional joining, the content of the three people's communication has become richer. According to Akimichi Tangdang, at present, on the battlefield of the Rain Country, Hands of the Salamander is trying to gather the Rain Ninjas that were defeated by Konoha to form a counterattack force. On the Konoha side, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade are chasing Hanzo relentlessly. The two sides have fought more than 10 times in the past 5 days, and they are determined not to give each other any breathing space. At the same time, a hunting order was issued to the remaining Rain Ninjas. There is no place in the whole territory of the Rain Country where there is no war. Overall, Konoha has taken control of the situation. Now the most important thing is to force Hands of the Salamander to confront head-on and end the war in the Rain Country. The execution of the pursuit mission requires extremely high quality and ability of the ninja. Inexperienced or weak ninjas are very likely to be ambushed and fall into traps, causing heavy casualties. Therefore, the genin and young ninjas will slowly withdraw from the battlefield. Muen has a deep understanding of this point. Didn't he lose his own eye during the pursuit? However, these are all information that Akimichi Tangdang learned from an elder of the family. The real reason is another layer, that is, Konoha will begin to prepare for the invasion of Sand Village, so when it does not affect the war situation in the Rain Country, more frontline ninjas will return to the village to prepare for the war. Afterwards, Akimichi Tangdang also introduced the leading ninja who was carrying out the mission of returning to the village, the young patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku. He pointed to a young ninja who was teaching Inuzuka Shida a lesson and said, "That is Inuzuka Shida's brother Inuzuka Jaw, and he is also the deputy captain of this team. He is somewhat similar to Inuzuka Shida, with the same oil paint on his face and 2 canine teeth." As if sensing the gazes of the three, he walked over here, carrying Inuzuka Shida. I'm really sorry to trouble you, Muen-jin. Inozuka jaw bowed to Muen and said sincerely, due to Shida's recklessness, you were injured. On behalf of the Inozuka clan, I sincerely apologize to you. Then, he punched Inozuka Shida on the back of the head, making Inozuka Shida stagger, and said, why don't you apologize quickly? I've already said it. Inozuka Shida, who was about to say something else, saw Inozuka Jaw's murderous gaze, and shivered in fear, and quickly apologized again. I'm sorry, Muen-jin. Brother Jaw, Shida and I are teammates, and this is what I should do. Moreover, compared with the lives of my teammates, my eye is nothing. Looking at the frustrated Inozuka Shida, Muen couldn't help but smile. At this time, Uchiha Fugaku finished handing over to the person in charge of the field hospital, and walked out several times. Looking at the people who were ready, he ordered, let's go. At the same time, Hanzo of the Salamander, who escaped after another battle, knelt beside a masked Anbu ninja. Leader, the people of Sand Village have not come to support us yet. Konoha's attack is very fierce, and we have suffered heavy casualties. Humph, the people of Sand Village are really unreliable. It seems that they want to sit back and watch us and Konoha lose, so that they can reap the benefits. The voice came from under the special mask of Hanzo of the Salamander. Pass the order down. Hide carefully, try not to contact Konoha ninjas, and hold on for another 5 days. Everyone must believe me. As long as I, Hanzo, am still alive, I will definitely find a way to survive for the village. Yes. A firm voice came from under the mask, which was an absolute trust in Hanzo's words. As the heroic pillar of the Hidden Rain Village, Hanzo is the belief of the Hidden Rain Village. As long as Hanzo's flag does not fall, the Hidden Rain Village will not perish. The Hidden Rain Ninja Soul believe it. Please recommend and collect. Thank you. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 18 New Eyes. Since Muen's body had basically recovered, on the way back to the village, Muen did not regard himself as a wounded soldier. Instead, he assisted in escorting the ninjas, and did some logistical support work, while thinking about his own gains and losses in several battles, whether there was a place where he could do better. Since Yuyin is now basically suppressed by Konoha, and most of this road is in the territory of the Land of Fire, it was safe along the way, and was not attacked by the enemy. However, since there were indeed many seriously injured people in the team, the speed was not fast along the way. Even if they traveled day and night, it took 2 days and nights to return to the village. When they returned to Konoha, it was early in the morning. Muen was forced to be hospitalized for observation as a wounded soldier. This was the time for Hiruna to go to work. The moment Hiruna saw Muen, she rushed up at a speed comparable to that of a senior ninja performing the instant body technique, pulled Muen into her arms, and cried. Then, while checking Muen from head to toe, she murmured to herself, "Where is the injury? Where is the injury?" After confirming that Muen's hands and feet were indeed intact, she wiped her tears and said, "I told you to be careful. I told you to be careful. Don't do dangerous tasks, but you just didn't listen. If something really happens, how can I face your parents after I die?" Then, without waiting for Muen to speak, she saw the bandage on her eyes, and said almost in tears, "What's wrong with your eyes? Are you okay?" "Huh? It's okay, auntie. Don't worry, I already have a treatment plan. I promise it will be fine." After saying that, Muen coaxed Aunt Iruna again, and finally stabilized Aunt Iruna's emotions. For some reason, Muen did not feel the slightest bit of boredom, and warmth surged deep in his heart, which reminded him of his parents who died young in the ninja world. Muen had a treatment plan for his eyes a long time ago. This was still an idea from the early development of ninjutsu. After developing the God's Perspective ninjutsu, Muen had an idea. When his eyes were really blind, could he use this ninjutsu to act as his relies and implant them into his eye sockets? If this idea is true, then is it possible to survive with damaged internal organs in the future? It is based on this idea that when working part-time in the hospital, Muen strengthened his in-depth research on medical ninjutsu and the human body. Nguyen's theoretical research on this program has become more and more mature, but he has never actually experimented with it. After all, Nguyen can't make himself disabled because of this. This time, when Nguyen's left eyeball was directly blown up by the rain hidden ninja, after waking up, he realized that this was the best experimental opportunity and the only hope for him to avoid becoming a one-eyed dragon. Of course, after 2 days of long journey, Nguyen's spirit is not in the best state now. Therefore, Nguyen needs to rest and recover his spirit before starting this experiment. After sleeping until the evening, he woke up in the hospital bed and Nguyen had recovered his spirit. After leaving the hospital, he found a restaurant and had a beautiful meal, then thought about the details and confirmed that they were correct. Nguyen found Hiruna who was waiting for him and walked into the operating room. Nguyen's eye wound has healed and the implantation of the eyeball requires reconnecting nerves and blood vessels. Therefore, surgery is required and this work will be done by Hiruna. Since Nguyen needs to collect all the information for this operation, and in the process of implanting the new eyeball into the eye socket, Nguyen needs to actively mobilize chakra to cooperate. Therefore, no anesthesia can be given during the operation, and Nguyen must stay awake throughout the whole process. After the operation began, Hiruna looked serious and quickly connected nerves and blood vessels one by one. Nguyen actively mobilized chakra to cooperate with the connection of nerves and blood vessels to promote the integration of the new eyeball with the body. Nguyen was soaked in sweat all over his body, but the pain did not shake him. After half an hour, the operation was finally completed. After Hiruna cleaned the blood from Nguyen, Nguyen walked to the mirror, opened his eyes, and found that there seemed to be no difference from before the injury. After feeling it carefully, Nguyen had some accurate judgments on this initial idea. How do you feel, Nguyen? Hiruna seemed to be nervous. She was shocked by Nguyen's idea and felt honored to be able to participate in such an operation. Nguyen blinked and said, overall, it was successful. The sight is no different from that of a normal eye. But what? Seeing Nguyen not continuing to speak, but falling into deep thought, Hiruna asked hurriedly. But, it seems that this can only be used by yourself, not on others. The new eyeball is created by your own chakra, and the fusion with the body requires the cooperation of your own chakra. If it is used on others, the eyeball chakra will conflict with your own chakra, and I don't know what the consequences will be. In this way, the value is very low. This means that once the eyeball is irreversibly damaged, you must learn the ninjutsu god's perspective in order to heal it, Nguyen explained. So that's the case. I thought there were some sequelae, which scared me, Hiruna said excitedly. Then, looking at Nguyen's calm face, as if nothing was a big deal, Hiruna said, this is a new breakthrough in medical ninjutsu, Nguyen, it's incredible, aren't you excited at all? I'm still a little happy that I don't have to be a one-eyed dragon, Nguyen said with a slight smile. In order to avoid making Hiruna worry, Nguyen still concealed something. After all, it is not a real eye, so it still has some weaknesses. On the one hand, the eyeball is a product of ninjutsu after all. To maintain its form, it needs to continuously consume chakra. Although the amount is not much, it is a big burden for Nguyen, who does not have an advantage in chakra. On the other hand, this eye will become Nguyen's weakness. It cannot withstand blows. Once hit, the eyeball will disappear. However, since the eyeball has been integrated with the body, especially the fusion of blood vessels and nerves, once the eyeball disappears, it is no less than being seriously injured again. While Nguyen was undergoing surgery, Hokage Tsukumo and Kato Dan, who were far away in the Wind Country, were having a secret conversation. Based on observations over the past few days, the Sand Village is likely to take action in the next 2 days. Kato Dan said with a serious face. It seems that we can't wait any longer, Hokage Tsukumo said. Starting tonight, we will assassinate the politicians of the Wind Country. According to the previous division of labor, I will continue to assassinate the daimyo of the Wind Country, and you will travel around various cities, looking for various prominent figures to kill. Okay, Tsukumo. Don't really kill the daimyo of the Wind Country. Our goal is to stop the war. Once the daimyo is really killed, the flames of war between the Wind Country and the Fire Country will really be inextinguishable. Kato Dan said. Don't worry, I will know how to measure. Safe. After saying goodbye to each other, the two of them disappeared in the vast wind and sand with their respective teams. Please recommend and collect. Thank you. Chapter 19 Behind Enemy Lines. The country of wind has a vast territory, but the sky is full of wind and sand. Both the climate and the topography are extremely bad. Most of the area is a desert that is not suitable for human survival. Humans can only rely on the very few oases in the desert to survive tenaciously. The serious shortage of natural resources has caused people to live in hardship. Therefore, the daimyo of the country of wind and the sand Gakyo have always envied the fertile soil and rich natural resources of the country of fire. Because of envy, they want to launch a war against the country of fire and seize those fertile lands to the name of the country of wind. However, due to the gap in strength, the battle between the Sand Gakyo and Konoha has always lost more than one. What is even more desperate is that the gap in strength will show a trend of increasing as time goes by. If the country of fire and Konoha are allowed to develop, then the country of wind and Sand Gakyo will never have the possibility of getting that fertile land. Therefore, the Sand Gakyo can only start a war with Konoha every once in a while, with the momentum of hurting the enemy by 800, and hurting itself by 1000, and with the blood of the people of the country of sand, to stop the development of Konoha and slow down the time for the two sides, to expand their combat power. Let the kingdom of wind always maintain that hope. Therefore, an irreconcilable blood feud was formed between the sand village of the kingdom of wind and the Konoha of the kingdom of fire. The second generation Kazakid stood in front of the window, watching the howling wind and flying sand outside the window, thinking about the meeting that had just ended. The meeting has decided to hold a swearing in ceremony tomorrow morning, and then directly send troops to the kingdom of rain to drive Konoha away and control the kingdom of rain. Damn Hanzo, if it weren't for the previous battle with the rain village, the sand village suffered too much loss. Now would be the best time to attack Konoha. Shaman thought ambitiously, this is also good. After this time, the kingdom of rain will be a vassal state of my kingdom of wind. Late at night, in a city in the kingdom of wind, a noble in the city was drinking and having fun. He was the master of this city. Even if the people lived a hard life, he would not disturb the noble's extravagant life. Suddenly, the noble fell to the ground and convulsed with blood from all 7 orifices, and it seemed that he would not survive. The scene was in a panic, with screams and shouts. At this time, the city's guardian ninja came. This was a ninja with some sensory talent. He felt a trace of chakra. Without any hesitation, he fired a signal flare instantly, and several ninjas from all corners of the city rushed over quickly. In a sand pit far outside the city, Katodan sat cross-legged on the ground. His life breath was faint, but he had already performed the spiritualization technique. The 3 ninjas around him did not dare to be careless, and were on guard. Suddenly, Katodan, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, had a strong life breath. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, "The target is dead. Let's go to the next location." After saying that, he took the lead and ran without waiting for the other 3 to reply. The other 3 did not dare to neglect and hurriedly followed. In the largest city of the wind country, where the daimyo of the wind country is located, the 4-member team led by Hatake Tsukumo, wearing night clothes, sneaked into the daimyo's mansion. When approaching the place where the daimyo is located, Hatake Tsukumo sneaked in alone, and the other 3 did not follow Hatake Tsukumo's figure and gradually disappeared on the spot. Hatake Tsukumo did not hide his aura when he approached. He directly drew out the short sword on his back and rushed in. The 2 sand village teams that were guarding the daimyo at any time immediately felt Hatake Tsukumo's aura. One of the teams immediately guarded the daimyo who was drinking and playing rock paper scissors with several beauties in the middle. The other team rushed towards Hatake Tsukumo, and one of them instantly sent out a flare. Of the 4 ninjas who rushed towards Hatake Tsukumo, 2 ninjas controlled puppets from a distance to attack. One of them should be good at ninjutsu, with a whirlwind wrapped around him, and rushed directly over, and another ninja held a sickle-shaped weapon to assist. The 4 people acted in an orderly manner and cooperated tacitly. They were indeed elite. Hatake Tsukumo was not panicked at all. The short sword in his hand emitted a faint white light, all thanks to its sharpness. The 2 puppets in front of him were cut in 2 with one knife, and the wind was also split apart, and the weapons could not be blocked at all. 4 ninjas, all elites of Sand Village, including a Jonin, were killed as easily as cutting melons and vegetables. Hatake Tsukumo, holding a knife, slowly approached, staring at the daimyo of Wind Country with fierce eyes, giving him a great sense of oppression mentally. The murderer Sora hit the daimyo of Wind Country, trembling all over, extremely panicked, and shouted to the ninja team around him, "What are you doing? Hurry up and kill him. Kill this daring guy." However, the 4 members of the team did not rush forward rashly. Obviously, they understood the gap in strength. Rushing forward would only be suicide. Their goal was to protect the daimyo, not to destroy the enemy. The signal had been sent, and they only had to delay time and wait for reinforcement to come. At this moment, a voice came from a distance. "Lord Tsukumo, the enemy reinforcement will be here soon." At this moment, Hatake Tsukumo suddenly started, and into steps. He was next to the daimyo, and with a flash of knife light, he had already stabbed at the daimyo. At this time, a large amount of sand under the daimyo's feet first surged out in front of the daimyo to form a sand shield. Behind the sand shield was the ninjutsu earth wall, and then a 2-meter high turtle back. I saw that Hatake Tsukumo's knife easily pierced the sand shield and earth wall, but was blocked on the turtle back, leaving only a small white dot. Hatake Tsukumo was surprised and flew back, looking at the daimyo who seemed to have urinated incontinence. Hatake Tsukumo said contemptuously, "With this, are you worthy of being the daimyo of the Wind Country?" Then, he turned and walked away, and no one stopped him. At this time, a voice came from afar, "Daimyo of the Wind Country, your head will be on your neck first. Remember, the day when Sand Village sends troops to the Rain Country is the day when your head falls to the ground." The next morning, the second generation Kazakage shaman was full of confidence and was preparing for the pre-war mobilization when the Enbu came to report. "Lord Kazakage, news just came that the 4 city lords of our Wind Kingdom died at the same time overnight yesterday. There was a very slight chakra fluctuation at the scene, but no ninja was found present." The Enbu ninja knelt on one knee and said with his head down. Shaman immediately thought of Konoha's spiritualization technique and thought to himself, "I didn't expect that someone could really master this kind of weird ninjutsu. Konoha should also know about Tsunagakyo's plan and want to use this method to stop it. But, with such a good opportunity, how can I, Tsunagakyo, give up so easily? You take 3 people and go investigate first." Shaman said, but he was thinking in his heart, sending troops to the Rain Country is the top priority at the moment. It's just a few nobles who died. We just need to pretend so that we can have an explanation when the daimyo asks about it. At this moment, another Enbu came in to report, "Lord Kazakage, the daimyo Sakuya was assassinated." The daimyo was extremely angry and asked me, Tsunagakyo, to suspend sending troops to the Rain Country and find the assassin first. The daimyo must see the assassin's head within 3 days. What? Shaman showed a look of shock and anger. Notify all elders and hold a meeting immediately. Please recommend and collect a few things. 1. I don't have a draft of this book, because if I have to save up more than 100,000 or 200,000 words before publishing the book, then I guess I will never be able to publish the book. 1. I will go out to attend a learning activity tomorrow, which I cannot refuse. 2. I will not stop updating. I can only guarantee 2,000 words at 12 noon every day. 3. Thank you to every book friend who supports me and reads my stories. Thank you. Although I don't know how many people will pay attention to this book, I think even if only one person pays a little attention, I should explain it. Thank you for your concern and attention. Thank you. Chapter 22nd Assassination. In the Kazakage's office, the decision makers of Tsunagakyo gathered to discuss countermeasures. The top priority now is to send troops to Rain Country. We cannot be delayed by other irrelevant things. If we delay, changes will occur. Puppet Master Chiyo said. Tsunagakyo's top priority is always the daimyo of Wind Country. The daimyo's orders are absolute. Chiyo, watch your words. Moreover, the daimyo's affairs are not irrelevant. The daimyo's affairs are the most important things. An elder said. My sister didn't mean that. She just thought that this was a good opportunity to strengthen our Tsunagakyo. It would be a pity to lose it. Ibizo explained on the side. Also, from the intelligence, Tsukumo obviously had a chance to assassinate successfully, but he didn't choose to do so. He just wanted to delay the time for us to send troops to Rain Country. How can we let him do what he wants? Ibizo continued. Tsukumo's intention is very clear, that is, to tie the life of the daimyo to our dispatch of troops to the Rain Country. The meaning is also very clear. If we want to dispatch troops to the Rain Country, we must kill him first. Otherwise, the daimyo's life will be taken. A purple-haired young man sitting at the end of the seat said angrily with sharp eyes, Tsukumo, you are bullying us, Sand Village. You are simply bullying too much. The second generation Kazakage looked at the elders who were arguing. Some wanted to dispatch troops to the Rain Country like Chiyo. Some were as furious as the purple-haired young man, and more agreed to obey the daimyo's order, suspend the dispatch of troops, and make finding and killing Tsukumo the first priority. Gradually, the second generation Kazakage shaman also came to a conclusion in his heart. Okay, everyone stop. The second Kazakage looked around the room, and made a decision. It would be ridiculous if our Sand Village was threatened by just one person. The plan to send troops to the Rain Country will be postponed for one day, but two things must be done well. First, Chiyo, you are responsible for selecting the best ninjas to protect the daimyo. If Tsukumo dares to come, kill him. The personnel must be in place this afternoon. Second, after the expedition tomorrow, the ninjas at home will strengthen the patrol and must find all the assassins for me. Remember, there are at least two groups of assassins, one led by Tsukumo, and the other group has someone who has mastered the legendary strange spiritual transformation technique. Yes, Lord Kazakage. Everyone stood up and responded to the Kazakage's order in unison. Lord Tsukumo, will Sand Village follow our words and not send troops to the Rain Country? A ninja from Tsukumo's team said. How is that possible? It's one of the 5 great ninja villages. If they give up their original plan because of my threat, how can Sand Village survive in the ninja world in the future? Tsukumo thought for a while and continued, but it's still possible to make some minor adjustments to the original plan. However, if we want to delay the battle in Rain Country for a long enough time, the next battle will be very critical. We must succeed, not fail. Master Duan, Sand Village didn't go out today. It seems that our plan was successful. A team member next to Duan said excitedly. It's still early. The difficulties have just begun. Kato Duan said, next, our mission will enter the second stage, which is to fully cooperate with Tsukumo and complete the second assassination of the daimyo of Wind Country. Another day has passed. This is the 8th day of Konoha's full-scale attack on Rain Village. The Sand Village army finally set out and marched towards Rain Country. At this time, somewhere in Sand Country, Tsukumo was hiding. Lord Tsukumo, the Sand Village has already marched. Are we going to assassinate the daimyo of the Land of Wind today? A ninja from Tsukumo's team said. Even for a jonin, it would take at least 2 days to rush from the Sand Village to the Land of Rain at full speed, not to mention a large army, which would be even slower. Tsukumo said with confidence, we can go tomorrow. I want the Sand Village army to turn back halfway, so that we can delay the war longer. Our own safety will also be better guaranteed. It was also that night, somewhere in the Land of Rain. Hanzo Salamander was listening to the report of his Enbu. Chief, according to reliable intelligence, the Sand Village has already sent out troops this morning. The advanced support troops are expected to arrive the day after tomorrow morning. The Enbu knelt on one knee and reported with his head down. After listening to the report, the demigod of the ninja world muttered to himself, the timing of Sand Village is really accurate, but it's good this way. Sand Village is weak, and if we sign a humiliating alliance with Sand Village, we may have a day to turn the tables. If we surrender to Konoha, then we, Ugekya, will never be able to make a breakthrough. Time came to the 9th day of Konoha's massive attack on Ugekya. In the morning, because the risk of being assassinated had not been eliminated, the daimyo of the Wind Country had to stay in the daimyo's mansion. At this time, he was listening to the reports of his subordinates in the meeting hall, preparing to deal with state affairs. The number of ninjas guarding the entire daimyo's mansion increased by more than 3 times, and the team leader was a ninja couple. The male ninja was carrying 2 scrolls on his back. At this time, the couple was guarding outside the meeting hall of the daimyo's mansion. Standing below them were the 4-man team that protected the daimyo that day. One of them took out a scroll and handed it to the leading male ninja with reluctance in his eyes. "Sir, it was this puppet that blocked the assassin's sword. I remember 3 years ago when I went out to sea with my mother to perform a mission, we encountered 2 sea beasts blocking the way. These 2 sea beasts were difficult to injure with ninjutsu and difficult to break with swords, so it took a lot of effort to kill them. My mother thought it was a good material for making puppets, so she kept it and spent a lot of effort to make 2 puppets." The man showed a look of reminiscence. "I didn't expect that one of them would end up in your hands. You look like this is something that you need to save your life. Are you afraid that I'll take it from you?" The man took the scroll and laughed, then handed it back. "Don't worry, I have a better one. The swordsmanship that cuts through everything plus the extremely swift instant body technique. It's indeed an extremely troublesome combat combination. Simple, powerful and direct. However, it's not that there is no way to deal with it," the female ninja said. "Plus now that we know how to resist his swordsmanship, it's even easier to deal with it. A head-on confrontation is much easier to solve. If there is no limit on time or venue, this type of ninja will be a big problem. Konoha is indeed full of talents." The male ninja also sighed. Suddenly, the couple stared at the front with a stern look. "I saw that a ninja had quietly crossed the outer defense line of the daimyo's mansion and came here, only 1 step away from the daimyo. Hatake Tsukumo, you actually came. How dare you?" The male ninja's voice was stern, and then he waved his hand and shouted, "Since you are here, don't leave, go." As soon as the man gave an order, more than 10 people appeared around him and besieged Hatake Tsukumo. The 4-man team rushed into the reception room at the first time to protect the daimyo. At the same time, the male ninja took off the 2 scrolls on his back. "I'm going out for training. That should be all for today. Tomorrow's update will be at 6 PM. Thank you. If you think it's worth reading, book friends are welcome to collect and comment. Thank you." Chapter 21. Invincible White Fang. The ninja couple from the Sand village looked at Hatake Tsukumo, who was under siege. They were like dancing elves. The sword in their hands flashed with white light. It was hard and sharp. It split the armor of the Sand village ninja and scattered all kinds of ninjutsu. Hatake Tsukumo shuffled and flashed in the crowd. With his skillful instant body technique, he was always in a favorable offensive position and prevented the Sand village from forming a real siege. But in a moment, none of the more than 10 Sand village ninjas who participated in the siege could stand. Hatake Tsukumo did not slow down his pace at all. He knew the significance of this assassination. Once all the ninjas on the periphery returned to defend, he would not only lose the opportunity to assassinate the daimyo, but also might lose his life under the endless siege of the Sand village. The Sand village couple opened a scroll each. One scroll showed 5 human-shaped puppets, and the other scroll showed 5 animal-shaped puppets, 1 scorpion, 1 turtle, 1 centipede, and 2 bird-shaped puppets. Under the control of the couple, 10 puppets came from all directions, from the sky to the ground, and besieged Hatake Tsukumo. Various hidden weapons and poison needles were ejected from the 10 puppets. However, it can be vaguely found that no matter how the positions of the 10 puppets changed, the turtle-shaped puppet was hovering near the 2. Hatake Tsukumo did not dare to be careless, because he had many experiences of fighting with Sand village, which made him understand that the weapons and hidden weapons on these puppets were all coated with highly toxic substances, and if they were touched without antidotes, they would die. The Sand village couple understood the power of Hatake Tsukumo's swordsmanship. In the process of attacking Hatake Tsukumo, they tried to focus on the long-range attacks of the puppets to reduce the contact between the puppets and Hatake Tsukumo's sword energy. Hatake Tsukumo turned and moved under the attack of the puppets and suddenly slashed dozens of swords in all directions quickly, and the white sword light whistled out and every sword seemed to fall into the air. However, after Hatake Tsukumo slashed these swords, the 10 puppets suddenly paused for a moment. Hatake Tsukumo seized the opportunity, and in a flash, he appeared in front of the Sand village couple with the instant body technique. It turned out that the sword light that just flew out cut off the chakra line between the Sand village couple and the puppet. The Sand village couple was indeed a master. In an instant, they had reconnected to the puppet and surrounded Hatake's Akumo from behind. The closest turtle-shaped puppet stood between the two and Hatake's Akumo, standing upright with its turtle back facing Hatake's Akumo. At this time, it was a life and death situation. Hatake's Akumo's retreat was blocked, and in front of him was the turtle back blocking the way. The Sand Village couple breathed a sigh of relief, as if they had seen the moment of Hatake's Akumo's death. "Are you so sure that my sword can't break this turtle shell?" At this time, Hatake's Akumo spoke for the first time since the start of the war. After hearing Hatake's Akumo's voice, the Sand Village couple suddenly changed their expressions and wanted to retreat. But there was no time. The white light on Hatake's Akumo's short sword was bright, and it turned into a 5-meter long blade of light. With just one sword, the turtle-shaped puppet was split into 2 pieces, and the Sand Village couple died. Since the first assassination, Hatake's Akumo has been planning the second assassination. When his sword was blocked by the turtle's back, he used the trick to make the Sand Village mistakenly believe that the turtle's back was the weakness of his swordsmanship. If the Sand Village couple did not overtrust the turtle's back's defensive ability and did not insist on Hatake's Akumo's life, but relied on their skilled puppetry to fight Hatake's Akumo, then, even if Hatake's Akumo could win, it would take a lot of time. But in this way, the plan to assassinate the daimyo of the Wind Country would fail. There was no time to stop. Hatake's Akumo rushed to the meeting hall with the flash body technique. The 4 members of the Sand Village team who were protecting the daimyo of the Wind Country did not have the good luck of the last time, and they had lost their breath while the swords were flying. "You won't kill me. If you kill me, it will be a war between the 2 countries to the death." The daimyo of Wind Country trembled all over, but he seemed to be a little braver than last time. Hatake's Akumo was a little surprised and said, "I won't kill you this time, but I'm not sure about the next time. Let the Sunagakure withdraw its troops. If not, it will be your death next time. You are a brave man, but I still don't believe you will kill me. You know the consequences of killing me. Even if the Sunagakure continues to go to the Rain Country, you won't kill me." The daimyo of Wind Country took a deep breath and said more calmly. Hearing this, Hatake's Akumo slashed his sword horizontally, and the sword light passed through the head of the daimyo of Wind Country, and the head was split in 2. The daimyo of Wind Country collapsed to the ground again, and only a voice came from afar. "Daimyo, I'm a brave man, but also a common man. Do you dare to bet that I really won't kill you next time?" It sounds long, but the whole assassination operation, from the time when the Sunagakure couple found Hatake's Akumo to the time when Hatake's Akumo left, did not exceed half a quarter of an hour. This is the super combat ability of Konoha White Fang. After completing the mission, Hatake's Akumo encountered some troubles when leaving the daimyo's mansion. He was surrounded by the Sand Village ninjas who heard the news. However, at this time, one of the ninjas who surrounded him suddenly attacked his companions like crazy and threw a large number of detonating tags around, and suddenly there was a sound of explosions. 3 more ninjas rushed from the outside to support. Hatake's Akumo seized the opportunity to jump out of the encirclement and escaped with the team members. Farther away, Katodan woke up from the spiritual transformation technique and said, "Let's go. Tsukumo has succeeded. The next stage of our mission is to prepare for the most crazy encirclement of Sand Village." After that, he left this place with the team members. An hour later, a desert eagle landed in the Sand Village. Then, the 2nd generation Kazakid shaman had learned that the daimyo of the Wind Country had been assassinated again. The Wind Shadow was furious in an instant, ordered the entire Sand Village to suspend all other tasks and wipe out the people of Konoha from the land of our Wind Country at all costs. It was close to dusk, and Chiyo, who was marching fast, also received news from the Sand Village. When she learned that the ninja couple responsible for protecting the daimyo had died, Chiyo was stunned. She couldn't believe this fact, because it was not someone else who died, but her son and daughter-in-law, her closest relatives. It was she who arranged her son and daughter-in-law to be with the daimyo, and it was she who personally sent her relatives to the sickle of the god of death. Then, hatred took over everything, and Chiyo roared and led the army back, vowing to keep Hatake's Akumo and others in the border of the Wind Country forever. At this time, the Sand Village vanguard led by Chiyo was very close to the Rain Country. Therefore, the retreat of Sand Village was known to the demigod salamander Hanzo that night. Looking at the thick night outside the window and listening to the sound of the rain, Salamander Hanzo knew that the opportunity to belong to the rain country had completely gone, and he could only survive by relying on Konoha. Even if we have to surrender, we must show our strength. Only by showing enough strength can we live with relative dignity. Salamander Hanzo thought. Sarutobi Hiruzen, you look down on me too much. Do you really think that 3 little brats can defeat me? Thinking of this, Salamander Hanzo began to gather his energy and prepare for tomorrow's decisive battle. Until the 24th of this month, I can only update 1 chapter at this point, and then change it back to 2 chapters. Sorry, the training time is a bit long. It will take until May 24th. First, I will ensure 2000 words a day. If the learning task is not so heavy, I will update more when I have free time. Sorry, everyone. Please recommend and collect. Thank you. Chapter 22. The name of the 3 ninjas. It was the 10th day since Konoha launched a full-scale attack on Ugakia. It rained heavily that day. Hanzo looked at the 3 young ninjas with sharp eyes and couldn't help thinking, God is really kind to Konoha. They will become independent ninjas in the future. But why is God so cruel to Ugakia? Where is the future of Ugakia? Or Orochimaru? Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at the man with a special mask in front of them. When the 3 chased them today, Hanzo was not in a hurry to get away as usual. It seemed that he was waiting for the 3 of them on purpose. At this moment, he exuded a powerful momentum that had never been shown in dozens of previous fights. After looking at each other, the 3 knew that today's battle should be the final battle. However, this is also a good thing for the 3 of them, because this is exactly what they want to see. Old man, it seems that you are not going to run away today. Jiraiya said bluntly. It seems that you, old man, also know that the reinforcement from Sand Village will not come. Are you already discouraged and ready to die? 3 little ghosts, today I will teach you how to be a ninja. Hanzo replied bluntly. Then, the 4 of them fought to one place. After nearly 10 days of fighting, both sides had a clearer understanding of their own strengths and means. The 2 sides first came up with a contest of physical skills. Hanzo used his chain sickle weapon and won the battle with 1 against 3. The use of the chain sickle weapon not only expanded Hanzo's attack range, but also the skillful use of the swordsmanship IAI/ and chain scythe 2-stage attack suppressed the 3 people from Konoha, and it was difficult to grasp the opportunity to use ninjutsu with seals. And the 3 people from Konoha would not sit and wait for death. Relying on skillful cooperation, they got rid of Hanzo's suppression and took the lead in using ninjutsu to counterattack, intending to change the situation. In the contest of ninjutsu, Hanzo's firm will, which was honed by the poison of the salamander since childhood, can avoid most of the effects of illusions. The fire escape ninjutsu detonation flame array combines explosion and trapping. If the person is not rescued by outsiders, it is difficult to get rid of it, and if he does not die, he will be seriously injured. Water instant body technique combines the advantages of water escape and instant body technique, and integrates the body into the rain, so that it can shuttle freely on the battlefield. On the battlefield of the rain country, it is even more powerful, and it is the nemesis of all ninjutsu of trapping people. In addition, Hanzo and his summoning beast Inobushi have a tacit understanding of the use of poison, which makes Hanzo almost naturally invincible. Although the 3 people of Konoha have made a lot of preparations, such as the antidote pills made by Tsunade in advance, and targeted tactical designs, this preparation still seems a little thin after Hanzo really shows his strength. Sure enough, after a long battle, the 3 people of Konoha have begun to run around and show signs of defeat. Hanzo of the salamander stood on the summoning beast Ibu, and with the detonating talisman thrown by the Kunai, Tsunade and the other 3 were already facing a formidable enemy. Jiraiya even shouted loudly for the 3 to dodge, and Hanzo had already sensed the landing point of Tsunade after dodging in advance and used the ninjutsu detonating flame formation. It was common sense to attack the medical ninja in the team first. Seeing that Tsunade was about to be submerged in the detonating flame formation and die, Jiraiya on the side quickly used the ninjutsu needle Jizo to rescue her. Jiraiya's hair grew wildly, dragged Tsunade out of the range of the detonating flame formation, and then wrapped the two with his hair to offset the damage of the flames and explosions. However, even so, Jiraiya was also seriously burned. But Hanzo was slightly surprised that Jiraiya could save Tsunade in this way. Taking advantage of the moment, when Hanzo was slightly distracted, Orochimaru used the ninjutsu Shadow Snake Hand that he had just prepared and tied Hanzo tightly. Without Orochimaru's urging, Jiraiya used the ninjutsu Needle Hell immediately after years of cooperation. His hair turned into steel needles and flew towards Hanzo. But even so, Hanzo easily dodged it with the water flash body technique. Orochimaru was surprised that he could dodge the two's move so easily. At this time, Jiraiya felt weak and half knelt down. Tsunade saw this and hurriedly helped Jiraiya up, saying, "I'm sorry, it was for my sake." Before Tsunade could finish, Jiraiya stared at Hanzo and said nonchalantly, "It's nothing, these burns are nothing." At the same time, Orochimaru gritted his teeth and said, "Even the coordinated attack of the two of us is ineffective." Jiraiya was naturally unconvinced, but he couldn't help but doubt himself in his heart, and couldn't help thinking, is this the end? At this time, Hanzo looked down at the three exhausted Konoha ninjas, and said in a condescending tone, "I'm afraid that the Konoha ninja village will win this war. I'll let you go." The implication is that it was only the victory of Konoha, not the victory of Tsunade and the other three. The hidden meaning is that it was the Omega Cure who lost, not him, Hanzo. In the eyes of him, the demigod Hanzo, Tsunade and the other three were just Konoha ninjas who he let go casually, and it was no big deal. "We don't need your mercy, we can still continue fighting." Jiraiya, who had a hot temper, couldn't stand this, and immediately glared and retorted loudly, "Stop talking, Jiraiya." Tsunade was calmer, knowing that it would be no good for the three of them to continue fighting. And from Hanzo's tone, he had already admitted the defeat of Hokage. Compared with fighting for pride, now was the best result. Hanzo was silent for a while, and suddenly said solemnly, "You three are very strong, and you have survived the battle with me for many days. From now on, I, Hanzo, will call you the three ninjas of Konoha. As the price of your lives, each of you should bear your own reputation." From then on, the name of the three ninjas of Konoha began to resound throughout the ninja world and gradually became a new legend. Hokage has been defeated. Ask the responsible people of Konoha to come and negotiate with us. After saying this, Hanzo used the water instant body technique and disappeared. Hanzo, who left, coughed violently in an empty place. He leaned against the wall with one hand, looking a little tired. He looked up at the sky, which seemed to be raining forever, and thought to himself, "It seems that I'm aging faster than I thought." Hanzo has never been as afraid of aging as he is now. Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade also relaxed their tense mood after Hanzo left. "Let's go. It's time to report to the teacher. The war in the Rain Country has finally come to an end." Tsunade said with mixed feelings, and the negotiations with the Rain Country also require the teacher to arrange for someone to come. With that, the three of them began to go to the Konoha base camp. Please recommend and collect. Chapter 23 Applying for War. In the process of returning to the base camp, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and Tsunade deeply felt for the first time what this war brought to the land of rain. It was pain and disaster. Before, the three were busy chasing the salamander Hanzo, and did not pay much attention to the miserable situation in the land of rain. At this time, when the victory was already in hand, they stopped and found that many places in the land of rain were empty, and some villages became battlefields and were destroyed. Women and children told their pain with helpless eyes and silent language. Jiraiya, the most emotional of the three, prevented several killings along the way. He even saved 3 war orphans, Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato. The three had differences on the handling of the 3 war orphans. Orochimaru believed that war orphans were suffering when they were alive, so it would be better to kill them directly to end their tragic fate in advance. Jiraiya insisted on staying to take care of the 3 until they could be self-reliant. Although Tsunade did not understand Jiraiya's decision, she still respected Jiraiya's choice. Afterwards, the 3 had to act separately according to their own will. The gears of fate began to turn, and the 3 of them would eventually meet their own fate. The report of the battle in the Land of Rain was passed to the 3rd Hokage Uenfei Hirozen on the same day. Looking at the content of the report, Uenfei Hirozen's tight heart relaxed a little. There was finally a glimmer of hope for the end of the war. Danzo, I guess I will have to fight with Inoki a few more times, and you will represent Konoha in the negotiations in the Land of Rain. The 3rd Hokage said to his best friend, we must strive for enough benefits for Konoha, but we must not force Hanzo too hard. Hanzang made a name for the three of them. Did he see my plan? He is really a cunning old guy. He showed me his goodwill and his strength. It seems that, in order to keep the rain hidden, Hanzo really took great pains. The 3rd Hokage thought, while giving orders to Danzo, wouldn't it be better to let the three of them talk directly? Danzo also showed some doubts. After all, the 3rd Hokage has always wanted to use the war in the Land of Rain as a step for his 3 disciples to be promoted. Danzo can see this. Now, let me go to negotiate. Isn't it just to share the credit? Although Yugakure was defeated, Hanzo was not. In the battle with Hanzo, Orochimaru and his 3 men were actually defeated. If the 3 of them go to negotiate, they will inevitably be weaker in momentum. The 3rd Hokage replied, you go to maximize the interests of Konoha. Moreover, they must immediately bring people to support Hatake Tsukumo and Katodan. The 3rd Hokage Uenfei Hirozen looked solemn. If the Sand Village is not handled well, there will be another war. Okay, since it's your order, I will naturally follow it. After saying that, Shimura Danzo turned around and left. But it was to prepare for the negotiations. Tsunade, who returned to the camp, led a part of the ninjas back to Konoha without waiting for the order of the 3rd Hokage, ready to rush to Katodan as soon as possible. After Muen combined ninjutsu with surgery to get rid of the embarrassment of One-Eyed Dragon, he developed various organ clone ninjutsu in just 2 days according to the method of developing the God's perspective ninjutsu to enhance his survival ability. Of course, ninjutsu has been developed, but it is still impossible to really use replacement when an organ is injured at this stage. Because, including the God's perspective, no matter what kind of organ clone, it belongs to A-level ninjutsu. And these ninjutsu have not been trained for a long time like the God's perspective. Even Muen needs a long time to prepare for the seal, and the possibility of failure to launch the ninjutsu is the highest when he is seriously injured. The level of ninjutsu is not divided according to the power of the ninjutsu, but according to the difficulty of the ninjutsu. It is divided into 6 levels, S, A, B, C, D, and E. As for forbidden techniques, they involve body modification or ninjutsu that may cause adverse effects on the body after being cast. For example, shadow clones belong to B-level ninjutsu, multiple shadow clones belong to A-level ninjutsu, and are forbidden techniques. That's because multiple shadow clones are more difficult to cast than B-level ninjutsu shadow clones, and for most ninjas with insufficient chakra, casting multiple shadow clones may cause irreversible physical damage. As for the power of ninjutsu, it is related to the caster, the amount of chakra used, the terrain, etc. Therefore, ninjas generally choose ninjutsu that suits them, rather than powerful ninjutsu. For example, Minato and the 2nd generation Hokage both know the Flying Thunder God technique, and the 2nd generation is even the creator of the technique. However, due to Minato's super reaction speed, Minato is stronger than the 2nd generation Hokage when using the Flying Thunder God technique. It is difficult to say whether Minato achieved the Flying Thunder God technique or the Flying Thunder God technique achieved Minato. The human organ clone technique, including the God's perspective, was initially inspired by the ninjutsu shadow clone, which is more difficult than the shadow clone, and is an A-level ninjutsu without combat capability. If you want to use it in your own treatment, you still need to practice for a long time to make the operation of chakra in it instinctive. When Muen was still immersed in the practice of ninjutsu, Tsunade had returned to Konoha, and the 3rd generation's order to reinforce Hatake Tsukumo and Katodan had also been issued. Tsunade personally selected the first list of reinforcement and coordinated the logistics supplies. She only gave 1 day of rest time and asked them to set off early the next morning. According to Tsunade's mood, she wanted to go straight to the front line without stopping for a moment. However, most of the Konoha ninjas had just retired from the Rain Country, and they were indeed exhausted physically and mentally, and needed to rest, before they could truly exert their combat effectiveness. Tsunade also understood that she could not lose the big picture for the small. Muen did not see his name on the first list of rescuers selected by Tsunade. This made Muen very entangled. From the information known in the previous life, his teacher Kato-dan was a short-lived ghost. Judging from the time, it should be soon, and Muen didn't know if it would be this time. Therefore, Muen wanted to witness it, and wanted to participate more deeply to see if the predetermined fate could be changed with the intrusion of his butterfly. This is a challenge to fate. Muen hesitated for a while, and still went to Konoha Hospital, and knocked on the door of Tsunade's office. "You mean, you want to go to the front with me?" Tsunade looked at the little boy in front of her, and thought of her dead brother, feeling bitter. She said with a little doubt, "Give me a reason. You are still so young. Now that the battle in Rain Country is over, there is no reason for you, a little kid, to go to the battlefield again. Please recommend and collect." Chapter 24 Breakout. Kato-dan as my team leader, I'm a little worried. Muen told Tsunade his reasons seriously. Besides, Dean Tsunade, my strength is not bad, and I'm also proficient in medical ninjutsu. If I can help, let me go. I asked the third generation to let Dan be your team leader, because I wanted him to protect you. Tsunade's tone was a little helpless, blaming the situation for changing too quickly. Now you are worried about him. Don't worry, your teacher will be fine. Don't we have the senior ninjas here? After hearing Tsunade's words, Muen realized that it was Tsunade who found the third generation that made Kato-dan his team leader. It turned out that without realizing it, he also enjoyed a privilege. Master's wife, you are also worried about Master Dan. You also want to see Master Dan as soon as possible. I feel the same way, so let me go. After confirming that Tsunade took good care of him, Muen changed his words without hesitation and brought the two closer. Stupid. Stupid, I'm not allowed to go. Tsunade's face suddenly turned red. Even if you call me Master's wife, you can't go. Oh, Master's wife, please let me go. Master's wife, please be kind. Master's wife. Seeing Tsunade's sudden shyness, Muen suddenly acted like a spoiled child to Tsunade. In order to reinforce Kato-dan as soon as possible, Muen was also shameless. However, think about it, she is only 10 years old, it's normal. Okay. Tsunade said helplessly, you can go, but you must stay by my side, and don't run around, understand? Okay, Master's wife. Muen, who achieved his goal, naturally agreed, and then ran out of the door like a gust of wind. Master's wife, see you tomorrow morning. I have to prepare too. Time goes back to the day when Hokage Tsukumo assassinated the daimyo of the Wind Country for the second time. Without waiting for the army heading to the Rain Country to come back for help, the remaining ninjas of Sand Village, led by the second generation Kazakage shaman, rushed to block the passage between the Fire Country and the Wind Country. As long as the army comes back to support, they can launch an operation to siege and kill the two teams. Hokage Tsukumo and Kato-dan knew that this day would be their last leisure time. Starting tomorrow, it would be the time for the two to fight for their lives. At this time, the two were leading their team members to meet in a sandstorm. According to the original plan, we must persist for 3 more days. Hokage Tsukumo said, starting tomorrow, we will act separately and can't let them catch us all in one fell swoop. After 3 days, no matter whether the war in the Rain Country has achieved a satisfactory result or not, we will break through and return to Konoha directly. Okay, let's do it. Tsukumo, stay alive and let us meet in Konoha. Kato-dan said. See you in Konoha. Then the two of them took their team members and disappeared in the busy sandstorm from the opposite direction. The second generation Kazakage was not a ninja who was good at martial arts. He became the Kazakage because of his research on puppetry and sand manipulation, as well as his rather wise mind. After cutting off the passage between the two countries, he immediately issued instructions. On the one hand, a dragnet investigation was carried out across the country to gradually reduce the scope of activities of the Konoha assassin team. On the other hand, Two assault teams were set up, with Chiyo in charge of the Hatake Tsukumo team and the young purple-haired elder in charge of the Katodan team, who were specifically responsible for analyzing and studying the capabilities and intelligence of the Konoha assassin team and killing them. 3 days had passed in the blink of an eye, and the Sand Village had already had enough understanding of the two Konoha teams, especially Hatake Tsukumo and Katodan. Hatake Tsukumo cherishes his companions. Once you meet Hatake Tsukumo, just attack his companions, preferably seriously injuring them, so that you can effectively contain him, and then look for an opportunity to annihilate him. Chiyo made such arrangements for the assault team she led. On the other side, the purple-haired young man was also making arrangements. What we can be sure of now is that the spirit transformation technique has a range of application. We have to do two things. First, keep a certain distance from each other. Second, once we find someone hit by the technique, we immediately move away and use our numerical advantage to find the person first and then kill him. At the border between the Kingdom of Wind and the Kingdom of River, the 4 members of the Hatake Tsukumo team were moving forward at a high speed. However, Chiyo and his group were chasing them from behind, and there were also Sand Village ninjas outflanking them from the front. The two sides had long been enemies, and once they met, they would not speak, but would fight to the death. I saw that Hatake Tsukumo's team had been surrounded by the Sand Village ninjas that were outflanking them from the front. Hatake Tsukumo led the team members and tried their best to get rid of the entanglement, but they all failed. At this time, Chiyo and his group had also caught up. I saw that Chiyo's 10 fingers were flying, and 10 puppets attacked Hatake Tsukumo fiercely. It was Chiyo's puppet technique, White Secret Technique Niamatsu 10 people. In less than 10 breaths, Hatake Tsukumo's team was hit at almost the same time except for himself. Even Hatake Tsukumo was too late to rescue, but it seemed that they had avoided the vital parts. Just when the Sand Village ninjas were about to cheer, the 3 of them turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared. It turned out that an hour ago, Hatake Tsukumo used himself as bait, pretending to be a team with one person, to win time for other team members to escape from the Sand Village siege. Chiyo was also shocked by Hatake Tsukumo's decision. He stopped attacking and said, "Are you ready to die? If you choose to sacrifice the other 3, you still have a chance to live. I really don't know what you Konoha people think. Your value is not comparable to those 3 people." Hatake Tsukumo smiled contemptuously and said, "My choice is a reason why you Sand Village is not as good as our Konoha. Also, I have no intention of sacrificing myself. 4 people came to Sand Village. Of course 4 people will return to Konoha." Arrogant. Chiyo was furious and immediately called on everyone in Sand Village to besiege. Hatake Tsukumo did not hesitate and waved his sword to meet him. On another battlefield, Katodan's team had also encountered trouble. It can be seen that Katodan was in the process of performing the spiritualization technique, but the spirit body was unknown, and the other 3 team members also had their opponents. However, when performing the spiritualization technique, the Sand Village team found his real body. The 3 ninjas who formed a team with Katodan were all equipped by the 3rd Hokage according to the characteristics of Katodan's ninjutsu. They have strong defense and survivability. Under the attack of the Sand Village, they not only protected Katodan's body very well, but also gained the upper hand. After a while, they killed the 3 people at the cost of minor injuries. The 3 were preparing to move their positions. Katodan had woken up. He looked at the injuries on the 3 people and said, "There is no Sand Village in front of me within my ability. Now we start to act separately. You go to Konoha for help, and I will hold them back." Without waiting for the 3 to refuse, Katodan said firmly, "Don't refuse. I'm the captain of the team. You all listen to me. If you leave together, no one may be able to leave." Chapter 25, Life on the Line. Hatake Tsukumo kept moving forward in the encirclement of the Sand Village, and the white sword light imitated by the short sword in his hand flickered, and he cut a bloody path. Under the leadership of Chiyo, the Sand Village pursued Hatake Tsukumo relentlessly, with the momentum of not stopping, until he killed him regardless of casualties. In this way, the 2 sides continued to fight and broke into the territory of the river country. From the geographical location, the river country is located between the fire country and the wind country, and its national strength is weak. Therefore, For the big countries, there is no need to care about their attitudes. For example, now, Chiayo can lead the Sand Village to chase Hatake Tsukumo in the river country without hesitation. Hatake Tsukumo didn't know how long he had been entangled with the Sand Village. He only knew to keep killing the enemy, from one encirclement to another, from the yellow sand to the green trees. Although he saved his energy and chakra along the way, he is now almost exhausted, and he is beginning to show signs of fatigue physically and mentally. When he was caught up by Tsunagakure again, when Hatake Tsukumo was ready to make a last desperate struggle, the Konoha support troops led by Tsunade came in front of him. Then Konoha and Tsunagakure had a big battle, until the unwilling Chiayo was pulled away by the Tsunagakure people. This also means that Tsunagakure's pursuit of Hatake Tsukumo failed. Tsukumo, have you seen Dan? Tsunade did not wait for Hatake Tsukumo to speak. Or, do you know where he is roughly? According to our original plan, he should be further south of me. Hatake Tsukumo stood very straight, but his voice was slightly tired. Looking at Chiayo, Tsunagakure will not give up so easily without another fight. Tsukumo, you have to keep an eye on this place first. I will go to pick up Dan first. After saying that, Tsunade immediately pointed out 2 teams of ninjas and rushed away according to the direction indicated by Hatake Tsukumo. Of course, during this process, Muen followed Tsunade all the time without saying a word. The strategy of the purple-haired young man in Tsunagakure to deal with Katodan is to take advantage of the number of people and find Katodan's body. After Katodan separated from his team members, he began to attack more unrestrainedly, using the speed advantage of his spiritual body to the extreme. But according to the position of his attack, the Sand Village also quickly locked the position of his body. The war between Katodan and the Sand Village turned into a battle between Katodan's killing speed and the speed of the Sand Village approaching his body. When Katodan had to release the spiritualization technique, there were only a few Sand Village ninjas chasing him. Is it worth sacrificing so many people just to get close to my body? Katodan looked at the Sand Village ninjas surrounding him and said, besides, do you really think that you can kill me by getting close to me? Your ninjutsu is too dangerous. No matter what the price, it's worth it, as long as I can kill you. A masked Anbu ninja from the Sand Village said, I may not be able to kill you if I get close to you, but I will definitely not be able to kill you if I don't get close to you. As they spoke, the 2 sides fought together. Katodan's close combat ninjutsu did not reach the invincible level of Hatake Tsukumo, but it was also above the level of ordinary Jonin. In addition, Katodan was also using the spiritualization technique to hurt the enemy while fighting and retreating. When the last Sand ninja who participated in the siege fell under the spiritualization technique, Katodan almost collapsed to the ground. At this moment, an overwhelming amount of iron sand needles stabbed towards him. Katodan took a breath and dodged, but was still stabbed in several places, but fortunately all avoided the vital parts. It seems that you are their leader. Katodan didn't care about the bleeding wound and stared at the purple-haired young man who walked away. You are using the lives of your companions to make a game. Are you at ease with such a victory? Konoha is too arrogant, and arrogant people must pay the price. The death of a ninja like you is a heavy loss even for Konoha. The purple-haired young man looks stern. At this moment, Katodan actually used the spiritualization technique again. When the spiritual body instantly pounced on the purple-haired ninja and was about to possess him, a barrier formed by black iron sand appeared on the purple-haired ninja, blocking the spiritual body. Your spiritual body can't pass through the barrier. Do you really think I will appear in front of you without any preparation? The purple-haired young man said indifferently. Magnetic escape iron sand giant needle. Several 2-foot-long iron sand black needles shot through Katodan's body, and even the spiritual body had no time to defend. Although he didn't think that Katodan had a chance to survive such a serious injury, the purple-haired young man was still ready to make the final blow and cut off Katodan's head. Just as he raised the black iron sand giant axe, there was a violent movement and strong hostility in the distance, and the purple-haired young man turned around and left without hesitation. It turned out that Tsunade and his party met the other 3 members of Katodan's team while looking for Katodan, determined Katodan's location, and rushed over. Seeing the purple-haired young man leaving, Tsunade and his group immediately split into 2 teams. At Tsunade, Muen and the other two ninjas stopped, and the others all chased after him. Is it Tsunade? Kato Duan's mouth was bleeding, and his eyes began to blur. It's me, don't talk, I'll treat you right away. Tsunade was also a little dazed at this time, because Kato Duan's injuries were too serious. She seemed to have seen the end, but she didn't want to believe it. So hateful. I don't want to die yet. I still have a lot of things to do. Kato Duan gradually lost consciousness. Asshole, why can't the bleeding stop? Stop it for me, asshole. Tsunade's expression was a little sluggish in excitement, and she began to lose her composure. Muen looked at Kato Duan's injuries. Although the other injuries were serious, they were still within the treatable range, but the two kidneys were pierced and could not be cured. Thinking of his new ninjutsu, although the feasibility was not high, it was undeniable that when he perfected this ninjutsu, he had thought about this situation deep in his heart. This is the moment to challenge fate. The senior ninja Mukade, who was guarding on the side, looked at Kato Duan's injury and thought, the internal organs were all blown away, even Tsunade can't do anything. When he was about to persuade Tsunade to calm down, he heard the voice of the kid named Muen beside him. Teacher Mukade, please be alert. Dean Tsunade and I need time. As he said that, Muen made seals with both hands and shouted to Tsunade, Master's wife, don't panic, I need your help, and Teacher Dan also needs your help. As he was speaking, two kidneys took shape next to Muen's hands, which was the result of his hard practice during this period. The senior ninja Mukade, who was about to say something, saw this scene and quickly closed his mouth and went on alert. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.